Let me add that to the stream. Yep. Let me add it to the stream, and we're going to be in our Zoom meeting. Oh, you got her. Okay, thank you. We're going to be in our Zoom meeting, and we're talking about charitable gifts of real estate this morning. So I'm going to add a little bit of, let's see, all your funny, let's put this in there. And let me get to the Zoom. So that way we have everything on board at the same time. It's 7:54. We're not on live yet, but give me a second here. I hope everyone is doing well. Happy New Year. If I haven't talked to you in a while, I appreciate all of you for coming into my social media. And give me a second here. Oh, all right. It's early here in beautiful California. It's almost 8 o'clock. So I am getting the kids out and getting on here with you guys to educate you on charitable gifts of real estate to nonprofits. If you've never heard about this, you need to know. Give me 1 second. If you want to follow me or you want to visit my website, go to samraocs.com, SAMRAOCS.com. And where's my Zoom? There's my Zoom. Okay. So I'm going to get in my Zoom and going to launch the meeting. And we should be on in a second. Join with a video.
She travels with us in the RV, and I'm not really sure what we would do with her if we were gone for a couple of weeks, but
let's see.
We'll figure something out.
We'll bring her with.
Well, if we drove the rig, that would work, but she's so big. She was with us on the airplane. They'd want to put her down in the hold, and that ain't happening.
No.
All right.
I'd love to do the road trip, but that would be, a month and a half long trek back and forth. So, and we could make a lot of fun with that, though. That could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm here. But is that Bo? Good morning, everybody. Yeah.
I'm going to wait and see how I'm thinking there's probably not much to think.
All right. Looks like we got a lot of new faces here. If you guys haven't been to the master class before, feel free to introduce yourself and tell us how you heard about us. If you're a little shy, feel free to type it in.
Hi, my name is Rhonda. I just was able to connect with a relative of mine. Her name is Toni Corsi, and she works in real estate. I actually have a nonprofit, and so she was sharing with me this very creative way for me to fund my vision. So I'm very excited to be here to learn more about what you real agents of change do. And so I'm all ears, just here to listen and to gain a better understanding. So thank you so much for the welcome.
Thanks for joining us, Rhonda. It's awesome that you're here. You're going to really learn a lot of stuff that's going to blow your mind. So you ready to take notes, ask questions, and
Alan, I believe you're the host now. Are you? Can you try to share screen?
looks like Kim is,
Okay,
or at least she was.
that's weird. Kim, can you give me host, please?
I am? Okay. I don't know how that worked, but hopefully that works now for you.
There we go. Okay, great. I was panicking for a minute there, but I think we're good now. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Alan, we are a little bit late. Let's go ahead and get this bad boy started.
Whenever you're ready, hit record.
Please ask the host to give you permission to record.
It's not showing. I had a notification that she was the host, but it's not showing now. Let's see.
It's Mercury retrograde.
It's true. Well, I can't report. I'm going to log out one more time and log back in, guys. We apologize for this technology issue. One moment, please.
Going through every participant just to make sure we find out if there's a host. I don't even see a host that's actually listed.
Michael, turn off your audio.
Hello?
Turn off your audio, Michael.
Okay.
I thought it was me.
All right. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, and I still can't record. So you know what? We're just
No
going to
problem. Will be great.
Go ahead and mute yourself out, Michael, please. Everybody, if you could just go ahead and mute yourselves out. Don't know what the deal is with all the technology issue, but we're going to get started without recording. Go ahead, Al. Okay.
Hey guys, well, welcome to the Charitable Real Estate Masterclass. This is the deepest dive that we have, the most information in any one presentation you're going to get from the Real Agents and Change, from anyone, really. It's like I was saying before, we're the only ones taking up this space. No one else is bringing real estate and philanthropy together in the way that we're doing it. We're tackling it head on, and so there's other people out there in this space that'll do it on the side if it's fits certain criteria, but no one else is doing this. Teaching, educating, certifying real estate agents, financial advisors, even the nonprofits themselves. Besides Cami Baker, who actually, to give you a little background about how I met Cami and Cami's background, I just met her last December, and full disclosure, she's my fiance now. And when I met her and I saw her vision and she explained to me what she does, and her passion and her commitment was so extreme, and I mean that, it was very extreme to this. I knew that if it was, if I didn't really jump into this with her full on, it was going to be a fling, and we could have had a lot of fun and it would have been over. But she's married to this business more than anything. So with her background, I've gotten to know her. She's had decades of nonprofit work, raising money for nonprofits, whether through car shows or bake sales or coat drives or diaper drives. I've seen all the pictures. She's kept all her memorabilia of flyers and events, pictures, and her experience with real estate. She's been a top 5% real estate agent, featured on HGTV House Hunters, and she's really done extremely well. And when she learned about this, and she's put this whole thing together where she can actually teach real estate agents and the nonprofit world how to come together to make money, making a difference. I'm a veteran, I'm a Christian, and I'm a rescue dog owner. So, I know about how nonprofits work, and the ones especially that I've been involved with are very helpful. Being a veteran, I can tell you that our government, most veterans will tell you that after you're out of the military service, you're sort of considered a liability. But the nonprofit world's getting a lot of work done for the veteran community, which I really appreciate, and I'm working hard towards directing a lot of money towards those groups. But with that in mind, I just want to introduce you to Cami Baker. She is the love of my life, someone who is super heart-centered, super sincere with her efforts of what she's doing. Her goal to make an impact is just, so powerful, as you're going to about to find out. And with that, all that said, I just want to say, take it away, Cami Baker.
Thank you, Alan. I think there's a little bit of echo going on. I don't know why. Like Kim said, it is Mercury in retrograde today, so technology is not going to be our friend, but that's okay. So, friends, we are getting a little bit of a late start, so I'm going to jump right in. I see that about half of you are friends that I've seen here before. Congratulations for coming to get another dose. And half of you I've never seen before, and that's wonderful. We love when new people are coming to see how this whole charitable real estate thing works. So let me just jump right into sharing the presentation. So as Alan said, we are the only organization in the in the world that is teaching how to leverage real estate for real change. Been around for 100 years, but it's a completely underleveraged, underutilized, undertapped resource for our nonprofit friends and for our real estate friends. Michael, if you could try to mute yourself out, I think you're the only one left that's not muted, friend. If you could do that, that would be great. Okay, here's our warning that we like to start the presentation off with, because here's the thing. What you're getting ready to learn can be a blessing or a curse, because you're going to learn something that you just didn't know before. How these nonprofits can get funded, how real estate agents can participate in the biggest, baddest, boldest social responsibility campaign ever created. And when you're sitting in those fundraising committee meetings, or when you see that friend post on Facebook a GoFundMe account for a local nonprofit, when you know that there's a better way and you share it and you share the blessing, your heart is so full and warm knowing that you've stumbled upon the solution and you're sharing it. But friends, when you sit in those committee meetings and you go to the Rotary and you go to church and you go to the homeless shelter and you sit in all those meetings with those people and you hear them talking about how funding is short and how they don't even know if the golf tournament is going to happen because of COVID or whatever. If you don't share this, it becomes a curse, because now you're hoarding information that can save lives, that can bring billions of dollars to those who need it. So be clear that what you're going to learn is something that if you don't have any intention of sharing it and being a contribution and part of the solution, you might want to leave the presentation, because that's the way it works. So let's start off with showing you what a gift of real estate looks like. You may have seen this story. It's been around for a couple of months now. Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, two houses that total $55 million in donations to the nonprofit world. And I love to start with this one and several others like it, because if you've come here with the misconception that this is about helping people unload property that they just can't get rid of, you're not looking at it the right way. As you can see from these photos, these are estates. These are property owners that want to be a huge contribution to the world, and they get great tax benefits too. But this isn't about unloading property that you can't sell. This is about being philanthropic. So the book Real Estate is Hot, Fundraising is Not came out in June. It is part of our nationwide campaign that also includes the List the Legacy listing campaign that happens in April. List a legacy listing, donations of real estate that get listed just like any other real estate agent listing, but now they leave legacy. And this is how we are teaching nonprofits and everyone else how this works. So in that book, we go over the 5 keys to revolutionize how charities and champions are funding the causes and companies and careers and communities that they love. So let me just share with you what those keys are. Key number 1 is learn. Learn what charitable real estate is. You're here, man. You're turning that key right now. Congratulations, you key turner, you. You're going to learn stuff here today that you just didn't know was even possible. Now, key number 2 goes back to that warning. Because once you learn it, if you don't tell people, if you don't open your mouth and share the blessing, it was all just a big waste of time to be here. Lead generation, generating leads by letting people know. That's key number 2 that we get into in the book, and also in the champion program that we'll be talking about. Key number 3 in the book we talk about. These are listings like any realtor's ever had before, but now when they're listed, and liquidated, they leave legacy. So it gets into the details about how and why these are just like any other listing, but there's a few little caveats and different contracts that you'll want to know about. We'll be going over those too. Key number 4, leverage. Leverage, leverage, leverage. Please leverage. Don't keep it to yourself. And when you let the mortgage people and the title people and the veterans and the animal lovers and your Facebook friends and your email list and all those people who sit on boards. When you let them know, we can all leverage real estate for real change to even be a fabulous business development element. Now, key number 4, all about leaving legacy. Here's who we attract. Here's who is aligned with us. If you're here, here's what we know about you. You're ready to leave legacy. You want to have some substance going on in your life. You're ready to be a part of the solution. Leaving legacy is what we're all about. And this image shows 3 people who are champions. Champions take a stand, take action, and do something. So the woman in the middle is a real estate agent. She knew the woman on the left who runs a nonprofit. And when the woman on the left met the woman down on her knee and learned that the donors and their donor list that they already have could, would, should be educated on how this works, she was all over it. As a matter of fact, that's where we had our book launch in June, was at the Haven in Sarasota with these good people. So that's what it looks like to be a champion and take some action. So let's talk about what sections we're going through today. I'm going to tell you what we're doing, and then I'll tell you that we're doing it while we're doing it. So section number 1, concepts and collaborators. What is donated real estate? And what are the first 2 of the 3 ways that a property owner can help a nonprofit through a gift of real estate? Section 2, we're going to get into the 3rd way, which is the win-win-win way, which is what you're here to learn about. We're going to talk about who the stakeholders are in this triangle of trust, as I call it. Section 3, we're going to break it down. How does this benefit the donors? Why would people want to give real estate away? How does it benefit the nonprofits the way that we do it with no risk and no money out of pocket? And how does it benefit all the advisory community? Section 4, we're going to get into the weeds a little bit with our financial advisor friends, talk a little bit about why this benefits them, and the donor advised fund. You need to know what a donor advised fund is if you're going to play with us, because it's a big part of the puzzle. Key number or section number 5, let's talk about what qualifies as a donation of real estate. Let's talk about those couple of contracts that you might need to know about. And in section number 6, we're going to go through what makes you a specialist or a champion. How can you step into the knowledge and the application? And we're also going to be talking at the end of this presentation, and maybe a little bit throughout, community foundation collaboration. How, after 3 years of creating longevity and synergy and book launch and CE course in Florida, how we now have this beautiful partnership with the community foundations nationwide, and how you can be a part of that and why it's so important. So why are you here? As a matter of fact, before I step into all of the information, I'm going to stop sharing, and I would like for someone new, someone that's never been here before, to unmute yourself and tell us what brings you here. What are you wanting to achieve from this? Are you a realtor? Are you a nonprofit? Are you a financial advisor? What brings you here? This is the community engagement part of the program.
Karen.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Hey, Karen.
Okay. Yeah, hi. So I'm here because you and I have been, we've been connected for over a year now, and I feel as if I've just sort of always had on the peripheral of an understanding of, what you're doing. And I support real estate agents. And so I'm always interested in learning more about other ways that I can help add value in that industry and community. And So I'm just here really, thank you for the invitation, and I'm excited to just really fully understand everything that you're doing here so that I can start to effectively communicate that out to, my community as well. So, yeah, I just I get it, but I don't get it, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
I get that you get it, but you don't get it. That's very common. And Karen is actually going to be one of the experts in our community foundation collaboration. She helps realtors to be seen and be heard in social media, and she'll get into that more during that program. But it's another reason why she's here. She needs to know what we're doing so that she can help us shine in the press releases and the social media. Thanks for being here, Karen. Thanks for wanting to learn. Anybody else want to introduce yourself and say hello and tell us, what are you going to do with this? What are you going to do with this knowledge about being a charitable real estate champion? Hey, Deb Durbin, I've seen you here before, I think, but we've had a little bit of interaction online. Would you like to unmute yourself or turn on your camera and let us know what's been keeping you around the peripheral, coming and going and taking a peek at what we're doing? Rhonda Bentz?
Hi, Cami, are you there?
Yes, Michael, go ahead.
Hi, I think you have a great program, and most realtors, 80% of the business is done by 20% of the agents. Most agents don't renew their license after they spend months getting it. What was 2020, what was 2021 is not going to be 2023. And I've been part of Rotary. I have been part of a couple other not-profits, such as in Laguna, and you can never have enough money. We're trying to figure out how to budget, how to feed a seal. So if we can convert that, not having enough money, into, hey, look, how would you like to funnel $150,000 to that nonprofit, and you have the tax benefits to go with? It all makes sense.
Well, thank you for being here, Michael. I know you've been here one other time, and you're the partner of Connie Myers, who is a dear friend. I sit on her nonprofit board. She's here with us today. I would venture to say the 80-20 rule, in my humble opinion, has turned to the 95-5 rule. I think 5% of realtors, 5% of financial advisors, 5% of just about any industry actually does 95% of the work. So, and the business, and receives 95% of the rewards. But glad to have you here. Rotary does need to learn about this, and those old bucks sitting around in the Rotary are sitting on real estate. We just need to teach them how to do this risk-free. So let me get back over and start sharing my screen and get back to the presentation. Just want you guys to know, we want you to interact. We want you to be a part of the presentation. Ask questions anytime something comes up for you. So you're here to strengthen those relationships. Friends, by 2025, the goal is to have charitable real estate divisions and charitable real estate specialists in every market of the country. Right now, you can be it, and that will definitely get you referrals that you would not have gotten before, because high net worth people want to leave legacy. They want to simplify their estate, and they want advisors that know about these different secrets or strategies or options. You can raise your profile. Instead of just being a real estate agent or a realtor, be an advisor to the wealthy, an advisor to the nonprofits. There are 499 nonprofits per county in this country. California has 5,000 nonprofits per county, and they need to know about this. You as a real estate agent can earn full commission. If you're not a real estate agent, you need to know why they're incentivized. You need to know that financial advisors can add to their assets under management. This is a big deal for any and all for-profit along with our nonprofit friends. More introductions, more commissions, more referrals. That's why you're here. And here's what you're going to learn today. Donations of real estate are happening. This isn't a question or a pro forma or will this work. It's been happening for 100 years, friends. $9 billion a year. You're going to hear all about that. You're going to learn what are the 3 ways that a donor can help a nonprofit with real estate. Now, as we continue to grow and learn, as some of you have pointed out, we have a friend that will tell you there's a 4th way, and that people who donate real estate can actually earn an income themselves off of an annuity or an endowment that can be created for them. I don't want to get too caught up in the complications of that, but we are adding experts and knowledge on a weekly basis at the Real Agents of Change. You're going to learn why you've never heard of donations of real estate before. You might be thinking, well, if this is so great and it's been around for 100 years, how come I've never heard of it? We're going to answer that for you. And really, what you've never heard of is the 3rd way, the win-win-win way. That's what you're really here to learn about. You'll learn why donors are trying to give real estate away and who they are and where you find them. You will learn how you can be the hero that your community needs and make money making a difference. Are you a specialist or a champion? Look, a specialist is someone with knowledge that other people in their marketplace don't have. It's a knowledge thing. You specialize in something. Champions take that knowledge and do something with it. They take action. Now, how can causes and companies and communities come together? Friends, 87% of your marketplace, no matter where you are, 87%, no matter what your industry is, 87% will choose you over the competition when they know that you're doing something for the community. And with this, you don't have to pick just 1, 2, or 3. You can help all 5,000 nonprofits in your county or 15,000 nonprofits in your tri-county area. Now, you're going to have questions. You can write them down. You can put them in the chat box. We want you to know we've been doing this class now for over 2 years, and 92% or so of the questions that could come up are covered throughout the day here, but we want you to ask any questions that you have. And we will be doing a Q&A in between each of those sections. We'll take a little potty break. We will show a video of a case study that you can sit and watch. You can listen to it while you're taking your bio break. And we certainly want to answer any of your questions. Please be as engaged as you want to be. All right, section 1, let's jump right in. Concepts and collaborators. What is this whole thing all about? I don't know. What donating real estate? Is that even really a thing? How does this whole thing work? So let's just start off by throwing you right in the fire. There are 3 ways that a donor can help nonprofits from the proceeds of real estate. The first way is one that we hear the most often. We hear, well, why doesn't the property owner just go sell their property and give the proceeds to the nonprofit? This is something that comes up a lot. This is a very common way of doing things, and it is outdated, it is old-fashioned, and it is absolutely the worst thing for everyone involved. So let's have a scenario that we can stick with as we move through the presentation. Let's say Stacy and my friend Karen are out in Denver, and they are going to be giving 3 of these champion packages to 3 realtors in that area. I'm going to fly out in February and present it to people on stage, etc. Let's just say that the Boys and Girls Club of Denver has a donor that has a condo in Florida. This is going to be our story for the rest of the class, so stay with me. So this condo in Florida has $1 million appraisal. It's got a $200,000 mortgage, and the donor wants to keep $200,000 in their pocket, but they'll give the rest to the Boys and Girls Club. So in this first scenario, the donor just lists the property, pays all the taxes, does all the things they need to do, and then they just give the money to the nonprofit that they love. But the problem is that the donor is going to pay capital gains tax. The donor also pays recapture tax. They are not able to write off as much of their adjusted gross income, which we'll get into more as the day goes on. Ultimately, the nonprofit receives the least amount of benefits. The donor gets the least amount of tax write-off. This is the most inefficient, ineffective way for everyone involved. It is just the worst way. Why would we do it the way that is the least financially beneficial for everyone involved? The second way, donor says, hey, Boys and Girls Club in Denver, I got this condo out in Florida. It's got a $200,000 mortgage on it. I want $200,000 cash in my pocket, but you can have the rest, which is about $550,000 in equity after expenses. So the second way is if this donor tries to donate that property directly to the Boys and Girls Club of Denver. Here's the problem. The nonprofit would be required to pay off that mortgage, to give that donor the $200,000 so that they can take title to the property, which is what gives the donor the tax benefit they're looking for. Property has to exchange hands, in order for the tax benefit to happen. So all that stuff has to be paid off. The nonprofit would be responsible for the hurricane insurance and the HOA fees and all the things. Who's going to put their name on the light bill? In other words, look, 99.9% of nonprofits flat out will not do it. They have it written in their bylaws that they won't do it. They don't have the money to do it. They are scared shitless that condo is going to get hit by a hurricane, and now what? So this is the hardest way to do it, because there are some that will take it on and try, but it takes months of board meetings, and they got to come up with that money to get the donor off the deed, etc. So this is just the hardest way. As a matter of fact, one of our real agents of change, Jim Wooten, wrote a book in 2006 called The Real Estate Gift. And you can go to therock.com/Jim Wooten. Alan, if you want to put that in the chat, so that you can get that book for free. And you'll see that whole book is all about this way. It's just the hardest way. And that's why he's so excited to have met us, to learn that there's an easier way, which we're going to talk about in section 2. So let's learn why real estate owners are wanting, trying, and searching for ways to donate real estate. Let's look at the reasons why 99.9% of nonprofits are turning down real estate, and how charitable real estate specialists and champions are able to help all to get funded. So let's have a little bit of foundation in place, because as we talk about what charitable real estate is, there's going to be some words that get thrown around like 501c3 and philanthropy. And we just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page when it comes to the connection between philanthropy, real estate, and the tax code. So philanthropy is the love of mankind and humanity, generosity in all of its forms, time, talent, and treasure. So if you're saying to yourself, well, I'm not a philanthropist because I'm no Bill Gates, as I hear often, I just want you to know the fact that you're investing 3 hours of your life with us right now tells me you are philanthropic, because you are investing the biggest asset you have right now to learn how this works. 501c3 is an IRS designation. There's many IRS designations. This specific one, and the 508, which are churches, is what we're talking about when it comes to making a donation of real estate. The 501c3 is who takes title to the property to give that donor the tax deduction that they're looking for. And the tax deduction's been around since 1917 for charitable gifts of all kinds. Of course, with us, we're talking specifically about real estate. So with all that being said, this 1917 tax law incentivizes charitable gifting for all taxpayers. So the charitable gifting of real estate itself is a gift of real estate made to a qualified 501c3, not a 504 or a 506 or other designations, 501c3 and churches, that provides the nonprofit an asset it can sell to fund its programs. Now, some of the stories we will share with you today that have been on the news in the last year are of real estate that's been donated for the nonprofit to manage and maintain and use for homeless situations, and maybe be absorbed because it's a neighboring property to a university or something. But 99% of real estate that's donated is not donated for them to hold, move, or manage or maintain. It's to be liquidated so they can have the cash to do what they want to do. Now, this charitable gift of real estate entitles the donor to a tax deduction against their adjusted gross income. And I'm going to show you an example in section 5 of a $4.5 million property. If it was sold outright versus donated, what the tax difference would be on this AGI. And if the asset is appreciated, then of course they are avoiding the capital gains tax on that which they donate. So it sounds simple enough. Look, there are donors all over this country that have, for over 100 years, been trying and wanting to donate real estate. $9 billion a year does get done, so some of it trickles through. And it sounds simple enough, but here's the thing. It is the risk to the nonprofits that is stopping this dead in its tracks. So here are some of the reasons that they just are saying no and missing out on this massive amount of funding. So number one, they just don't have the expertise. The nonprofit world, the 1.5 million nonprofits, they don't have the real estate expertise or a real estate team. And friends, even if you and I and all of the real agents of change sit on their board, now Connie Myers and Michael are here with us today. Connie has a nonprofit. I sit on her board. I wrote the book about this. But the reason that I would never recommend her nonprofit or your nonprofit or any nonprofit to actually do their own transactions of real estate, besides the risk, is they don't have the capital. Now, remember our story. We've got $1 million condo in Florida, $200,000 mortgage, $200,000 cash that the donor wants. Somebody's got to come up with $400 grand besides paying the HOA fees and the hurricane insurance, etc. And I'm not going to do it. So this is why this is a problem. So real estate diverts their attention. We call this mission drift. And boy, did Jim Wooten really love this part of it. He said for 25 years of him doing it the number 2 way, all that mission drift, all those nonprofits he's worked with for 25 years that have acquired real estate on his encouragement, it's taken them off their mission. They spend months putting these deals together. And friends, we need the nonprofits that are saving lives through human trafficking. We need them saving lives, not trying to figure out an appraisal on a property across the country. We need the veteran groups helping the veterans, etc. You see where I'm going with that. Now, another reason that they are missing out on this funding is they've heard of or had bad experiences. Ooh, yeah, we took a property one time. It was a nightmare. We'll never do that again. They hear all of that stuff. Now, some will accept real estate on a very limited basis. So as we talk about our community foundation friends, when we talk to them, they say that they take real estate. But if you ask them a couple more questions, you'll find out that they only take it if it's mortgage free, if it's vacant, if it's next door, if it's in this 10 blocks radius. In other words, it has to fit into such a small box that they might take it, but they will only take it if the moon is full and all the stars are lined up. Now, the majority of them have it written right in their bylaws. We do not take non-cash assets, especially not real estate. No. And that's a problem. Now, we don't even want them changing their policies because we can help them get the funds without actually accepting it. So overall, it's just so damn risky that for 100 years, nonprofits would rather take the $500 cash than the property worth $500,000. But the real reason is because they've never heard of what we're going to be sharing with you in section number 2. And even Jim Wooten and experts like that had never heard of it. That's why people of huge credibility and sophistication in this world, we have another guy, Jeff Albee, who is coming to us. He is the president of the CCIM in LA. And when he saw this, he said, Cammie, I've helped a client who donated $45 million to nonprofit. He said, I handled all that transaction for them. I have never seen what you're doing here. He signed up immediately to be a specialist. So you keep hearing me say 99.9% can't, won't, etc. Well, Cammie, what about that less than a 0.0067% that do? So I'm just going to bring up some logos here on the screen. Every 30 days or so, I'll go in and do my own search for who takes real estate, donations of real estate, and how to donate real estate. And when I do, I see more and more coming up. Because here's the thing, nonprofits are hurting for certain. They need money. And some of them, like these, are getting smart enough to actually advertise and ask for real estate. Alan will tell you, $9 billion a year is donated with nonprofits not even asking. So these are smart enough to be asking. So why would I be sharing these with you? Well, number one, if you're going to party and play with us, you're going to be doing some Googling and you're going to find all these. And I want to share with you the difference between what we're doing and what these groups are doing. So Cars for Kids, most people have heard of them. They take not only cars, but now they take real estate. Wonderful organizations, all of these are. And if a donor needs a tax deduction, they can donate to any of these and the money is going to a great cause. But if your donor on your nonprofit's donor list, if your client and your past or current clients, if your friends on Facebook go to any of these and donate their real estate, here's the problem. Your church, your community foundation, your veterans group, your homeless shelter, whoever you're passionate about is not going to get the money. Because with these folks, they're smart enough to be advertising for their own nonprofit. They are not doing these transactions and then sharing 50% with your church. In other words, they're doing it, but they're doing it for themselves. They are not doing it to help all the other 1.5 million in the country. So it's happening on a very small scale with those who are actually doing it for themselves. And this is why the Real Agents of Change and certification into champions was all created so that all the other 99.9% can benefit from real estate, so that the donor can choose who gets their legacy, and so that all nonprofits can become proactive versus reactive. Because some of these that do accept real estate, if it fits in this tiny little box, are so averse to even dealing with it, they aren't marketing it and they don't really want it to come in because it is a headache. So they are reactive when somebody finally calls them from something on their Facebook page, but we are teaching you how to be proactive, assertively, confidently find these gifts of real estate to help your communities. Now, let me share with you a little bit of a story of how we get to where we are today, because it's really important that you know who the players are here and what qualifies us to bring this to your attention. So my background is in real estate. It starts when about 20 years ago, this picture was taken. It was my first professional suit, my first professional headshot. I was a newly sober, single mother in a state where I didn't know anyone. I'm from Florida. I had moved to New Hampshire and I got my real estate license. And fortunately, I was hired by a realtor who did 125 deals a year. So for the first year and a half, I was actually his listing coordinator, learning the business, doing listing packets, doing all those things that a listing agent does, except for going on the appointment. So when I got my license, I became a realtor, and I kind of became his competition, actually, by the way. And the day that I had this photo taken, my daughter was with me, and we took some family shots. And she's a big part of my story because I was a single mother. I am a single mother. And I wanted to be a realtor so that I could set my own hours, claim my own worth, be there for her and her field trips. This is one when we went to Boston to one of the children's museums. And this is when I got my start in real estate. So in the beginning, I was with Remax, and I loved the hot air balloon. I brought it to a couple of events. It was a really big deal for how I was promoting my business. And then with the balloon, I started doing car shows too. I also was actually with Century 21 for a little while. I did a TV show with them called The Real Estate Road Show, and this was one of our shoots. So I was really a guerrilla marketer. Like, I was out there beating the pavement, boots on the ground. I want my real estate friends to know this whole thing has come together, because when I learned about charitable real estate, I thought, holy cow, there's 2 million realtors, been there, done that. I know the pain of looking for business and trying to differentiate yourself. And I knew that this would finally be a differentiator. So HGTV, I actually sent in way back when you had to actually take a big camera with a VHS tape to do a recording. And I mailed that thing in the mail to Pie Town to get accepted on HGTV, beat out 6,000 realtors in my state. And from there, they introduced me to House Hunters. I did that show. From there, with all the success that I was starting to have, I bought this car. It was my dream car, 64.5 Mustang convertible. And with that car, we did car shows for 7 years. And here's why this is important for you. When I was promoting the car show, I learned handing out flyers, calling mortgage and title companies, reaching out to my past clients, reaching out to my current clients, going to Chamber of Commerce and BNI and all these RIA meetings, etc. I learned that even when people didn't care about Cammie Baker or Remax or real estate, they loved that we were doing something. We gave the money to a group called the Live and Let Live Farm that rescued horses. We worked with Make-A-Wish and Ronald McDonald House. Friends, this created so much conversation. When I was at a networking event and there was 10 other realtors, and you know what I'm talking about, because whether you're in a room or on a Zoom, you are never the only realtor. And this gave me such a differentiating factor. I never even talked about real estate. I'd tell them about the car show that was coming up and how much money we were giving to the horse farm, etc. This was a big part of how I was building my business. And what happened was I learned that there's so many people out there that are philanthropic and heart-centered, but they didn't know how to make money, making a difference, how to bring their business development and their heart-centeredness together. So this is an example. Karen, right there in the middle, is a president of the Board of Realtors in that state. She hired me to be her coach and to teach her how to do a cause marketing campaign as she was leaving office, marketing your business with a cause in mind. So I've been doing this for years and years before I learned about charitable gifting of real estate. And in this image, we did a diaper drive. We raised up 8,000 diapers for women coming off opioids and having babies. This was my Botox doctor. She hired me to help her do different things to bring clients through the door. This was obviously a toy drive that we did. This was Jacksonville Real Estate Investor Group. They wanted me to fly down and do a talk. And I said, only if I can practice what I preach. We have to do some kind of a social responsibility campaign. So we raised up a whole bunch of coats. We did a coat drive, and that was the coats back there on that table. So over the years, I started teaching people this. Habitat for Humanity was this broker's nonprofit of choice. Karen and I put together Realtors for Recovery. It was all about helping with opioids and the recovery epidemic. We did coat drives in Boston for huge, as a matter of fact, that's the largest meetup group in the country that we were working with right there in Boston. This was an animal rescue league, another real estate agent slash network marketer that was a friend of mine that hired me to do that. We did poker runs. We put together boxes to send overseas to our enlisted friends. And I learned that so many people didn't know how to bring for-profit and nonprofit together, and I just had this innate ability to do so. So 3 years ago, when I learned about charitable gifting of real estate, it was that background of real estate, that background of nonprofit. It was the background of cause marketing and helping for-profits and nonprofits come together that had the glasses I was wearing, the filter that I saw this through apparently was different than anyone else because it's been around for 100 years and it's not been leveraged. So we got written up on Yahoo Finance about this in November, a little bit over a year ago. This is when the Business Observer did a story about us during our book launch. So we are traveling the country, teaching people how to partner, how to come together, how to make money making a difference. We're traveling in our RV. April is List a Legacy Listing Month. We want you to be a part of that. You got to start now if you want to take listings in April. Bring that education, bring people together on a Zoom, invite them to the master class, do your own presentations. We want to help you with that if you want. Now, not everybody wants to do their own presentations. We'll do them for you and with you, but if you want to, we want you to be the champion. We want you to get up in front of the Rotary. We want you to get up in front of the Chamber of Commerce or the Boys and Girls Club or the Board of Realtors, whoever that is for you. So that's what brings us to today, is all of that experience as a top 5% realtor and house hunters and strategizing with all of those real estate and financial advisor and small business USA, like all of them coming together. We've created the only CE course in the country around charitable gifting of real estate. So it's all that experience that has brought us together today for the win-win-win of a lifetime. Now, this is an example, right? This is not a building that's fallen down in disrepair. This is a 2-family that was making money right in the Boston area. Actually, this was Rhode Island, and the Martin Luther King community benefited by almost $2 million. This is one of our real agents of change. Michael DeShavi is in Brooklyn, and he loves what we're doing. He and I have done cause marketing campaigns, helping network marketers in real estate and financial. For years, we were doing this together before. And so when I learned about it, I called him and I said, Michael, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I'm going to do something. I want you to be a part of it. So he is one of my dearest friends. So what I'd like to do now is simply open it up for any questions, comments, hallucinations, anything I can help you with now. And if there's not a question, I'm going to play a case study. We have 14 case studies recorded, and I'll play a couple of them today.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Hey, Deb.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you for your beloved man there. Yeah, so I don't have any questions. I just finally got on. That's all.
Good. Well, I'm glad to have you here.
I'm on the phone, so I don't have. I do not have the video working right now.
Well, God bless. I appreciate that you're here, even just listening and following along. That shows a lot of integrity. Thank you for being here.
I'm really excited to introduce our religious community to this. I've been nervous about doing it. I don't quite, so I'll talk to you maybe independently about that. But
absolutely, Deb. And we do a lot of research here at The Rock. We know a lot about a lot of stuff when it comes to this. 28% of the $474 billion a year, 28% of what's donated, which is the number one position, are our religious affiliations. 28%. The second one down is only 14%, and that's universities. So let your church know. Yeah, we'll teach you about that. We'll teach you how to do that. We're actually partnering with the Church Guy Network. Church Guy Network has 49,000 church leaders on their email list, and they're going to be hearing from us this month. So good to have you.
49,000 what?
49,000 church leaders, ministers, pastors, Christ-centered leaders are on that list, which represents 49,000 churches and however many hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people that would be.
I encourage you not to limit it to just Christians. We're in the United States. There are so many faiths. And I know I read somewhere that you were trying to do one focused on Christian. I would just make it God-centered rather than just Christ-centered.
Well, that is for that specific group. So the Church Guy Network is Christ-centered. We do this. Look, there's 1.5 million nonprofits in this country, and we want to help them all. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, friends. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to play a case study. I'm actually going to play one from Jim Wooten. As a matter of fact, it has to do with the church. So let me share this one. Let's all take a little bit of a potty break while we're listening to it. It is 11:58. Let's come back right about 12:05. A fascinating story we're just chatting about. Tell us about it.
Okay, so I was contacted by a charity that needed to put this deal together. They had a country club that had been built at a original cost of $25 million. And over the years, the country club fell on hard times and went through a sheriff's sale. It sold to an entrepreneur for $3.5 million at the sheriff's sale. And after operating it for a few years, maybe 5 years, a charity proposed that they donated for their school. It was a school. And so it was a 501c3 school. And so they said, well, how do we do this? And what would be the ramifications? What would be the benefits? So I got an MAI appraiser to look at it. And he said, well, look, it cost $25 million to build this thing. And over the years, it's depreciated some, of course. But rather than use the income approach or whether to use the market approach, which how many country clubs are sold per year, right? Very few. So using the cost approach and using all the metrics, it was $9.5 million. And so they did it. I put together the paperwork for them and we got it all done. He got a $9.5 million write-off. And with the tax savings alone, he had more tax savings than his original cost in the property. So plus he was able to make a tremendous difference. That's the thing. If you don't have donative intent, I think IRS, by the way, they don't honor this unless there's donative intent. And you have to say so. And you have to say so in writing before the closing. Now, it can be a letter. It can say, the seller intends to make a charitable donation of the property at 123 Main Street to the buyer of 501c3. You can just do that in one sentence. But it's really probably better to put it right in the purchase contract. Put it right in the purchase contract. You don't want this thing to foul up just because you didn't declare donative intent. And so, of course, that was done here. So, yeah, I mean, there are more than one ways to do this. I also want to say, I think I want to touch on the fact that the tax savings, every time you make a donation, that's one asset that's not going to go to your heirs, right? The kids are thinking about this. And you don't want them telling mom and dad, don't do this. That's something I'm supposed to get, right? So here's the thing. With the tax savings, oftentimes they can pay for a life insurance policy. They'll give the kids even more than the value of that asset. It's just something, a tool to have in the back of your head, get some life insurance. Go ahead.
Amen. I love that you bring that up a lot because it's one of the things that we even say for financial advisors. Hey, listen, if your client wants to get a couple $100,000 out of that property to buy life insurance policies for the kids, well, that's even better for you, financial advisor. I'd like for you, Jim, also to speak on that property donor had paid $3.5 million, and now that it's being donated at an appraised value of $9.5 million. What are the key points? Like there's capital gains tax that they're avoiding. What are some of those tax benefits for a donor like that?
Yeah, well, that's a big one right there. Capital gains tax is avoided. And so that's fabulous. But also the tax savings from the charitable gift. They can write off, 30% if it's an individual, or if it's an LLC. If it's an LLC, it's just fine. All the members can take their pro rata share up to 30% of their own adjusted gross income, line 22 on their 1040. They can write off 30% per year for up to 5 more years, total of 6 years. So that's real money if they, otherwise have a tax to pay. That means.
So as I'm listening to Jim, I just feel like I need to also pipe in and say, do not feel like you have to become some kind of tax expert. We have a saying at the Real Agents of Change: do what you do best and refer the rest. So we want to give you overviews of how this works and why the tax advantages are so powerful. But please don't feel like, oh my God, that's so much information. I don't want to have to share. I can't even really explain it. And you'll see that in section 5 when I muddle through a comparison of a traditional sale versus a donated sale. But Jim is one of the experts that will be teaching an hour-long module in the Community Foundation collaboration. If you haven't heard of that and you're interested in getting the recording that we did last Friday to give you all the details about it, please let us know in the side. We're going to be talking about it at the end today, but we go into much more detail in the Zoom we did last Friday. Anybody have any questions coming up, or we're just going to jump right into section 2 and share with you the third way, the win-win-win way. All right, here we go.
Means they're going to.
Section 2, let's start getting into these benefits of how this whole thing works. And we've been kind of teasing you with the third way. So let's recap. The first way was that the donor does everything themselves. They go and sell the property, they pay all the taxes, and whatever's left over after Uncle Sam gets their piece, they give some of it to the nonprofit. Worst way for everyone involved. Second way is if the donor donates the property directly to the nonprofit that they want to benefit. And by the way, it can be divvied up. 1 nonprofit, 3 nonprofits, 100 nonprofits. It can be put in a donor advised fund. But the concept here is that the donor is trying to give it directly to, in our case, the Boys and Girls Club for this conversation. The way number 2 is the hardest way because 99.9% of nonprofits will not take it. And if they do, it's a nightmare because they don't know what they're doing and it is not convenient and easy. So the third way is what we are teaching and suggesting. The Real Agents of Change have put together a group of experts. One of those experts is what we call the specialized nonprofit. It is a 501c3 whose sole purpose for existing is to accept gifts of real estate on behalf of any other nonprofit, pay off mortgages, take on financial responsibility, and then liquidate the property through you, the realtor, at a full commission to give the proceeds to the nonprofit world. So our story out in Denver, we've got the Boys and Girls Club. That donor has a condo in Florida, $200,000 mortgage, $200,000 cash that they want in their pocket. Specialized nonprofit comes to the table, pays off their mortgage, gives them $200,000 cash, gets them off the title so that they get their tax deduction that they're looking for. This can all happen in less than 30 days. Now, specialized nonprofit has the property. They list it with a realtor at a full commission. When they recoup their expenses, they give on average 98% of the proceeds to the Boys and Girls Club in this scenario. This is why this is risk-free for any nonprofit, because they never take title and they don't even need to know the address or the state the property is in. That is how far removed they are. There is no money out of pocket to handle the transaction. Friends, let me be really clear. Do we do marketing? Yeah. Can we help you create social media and a landing page? Absolutely. Do we have trainings and strategy that we charge for? Yeah, of course we do. But if you tell people, if the nonprofit tells their donors, if the realtor tells their clients, if the visionary leaders on this video will share it on social media, there's no money out of your pocket. You find a donor, you bring it to the table, specialized nonprofit takes care of it. That didn't cost anything. There is capital available to enhance the value of the property. So what if it's a property that, it's a big strip mall and the parking lot's tore up and needs a $200,000 repaving? They can do that. Bargain sale. You're going to learn more about this as we move through the class today, but the bargain sale simply means this. If the property is donated free and clear, here's the keys, here's the deed, thank you for the tax deduction, go have a nice day, that's a donation. If any money at all exchanges hands, mortgage needs to be paid off, there's a lien on the property, the donor wants cash, any of that, it is called a bargain sale. You'll really get that by the end of today. Now, with this, the win-win-win way, the donor receives all the tax benefits that are absolutely possible immediately. The nonprofit world receives the maximum amount of donations because Uncle Sam gets cut out in the middle. And I know I've got friends on here right now, Val, that wants to stick it to the government and not give them all their tax money. Friends, 100% of the 1.5 million nonprofits qualify and are eligible for this, because even some of those, including the Salvation Army that typically does their own donations of real estate, can't always handle how complicated these deals get. Our team can. This is the win-win-win of a lifetime. There is no catch. This is not too good to be true. This is realtors get paid, donors get to leave legacy and have a tax advantage, and nonprofits can double their funding from the donors they already have, period. So let's talk about the stakeholders. There are 3 stakeholders, and you'll see what I mean as we move forward. The donor. So the donor could be a corporation or an individual. Guess what? 70-something% of all donation comes from individuals, not big corporation. Second stakeholder is the advisor. Now, in our world, that means anyone who advises people who own real estate. So it could be the financial advisor, the wealth manager, the CPA, the attorney, could be the real estate broker, insurance broker. If they're advising on real estate, they're an advisor. And the nonprofits themselves could be public charities or the donor advised fund, which you'll be learning about soon. But as you see, here's what it looks like. And that's why I call it the triangle of trust. Now, the donors are a yes. Yes to what? They are a yes to wanting to donate real estate. We do not convince. We do not sell. I don't think you could convince somebody to hand over their deed. What you can do is educate, inform, and let people know what their options and opportunities are. And for the right people, they are a yes. Check yes to the donor. Advisors are a yes. Look, real estate agent gets paid a full commission. Financial advisor can earn fees on donor advised funds. Financial advisor can sell life insurance. Financial advisor can help liquidate that one asset, real estate, that they can't normally make money on, and they can now make money on it. So the advisory community, the CPAs, want to help their clients to get tax advantage. In other words, advisors are a yes. Yeah, they're into it. Sure. It is the nonprofits that are the no. Why? Because it is so complicated. It's just too much risk. Nonprofits move really slowly. They don't have the ease and the versatility that the advisory community does. They lack the allowable funds. They don't have money to pay off that mortgage. And even if they did, who's going to take the risk? They lack the expertise. They don't want mission drift. They want to do what they were created to do. And frankly, we want them to do that too. They've had bad experiences that haunt them. They have gift acceptance policies that restrict them. Friends, we're repeating ourselves a little bit here, but this is all important to know. And most of them just say no. They just say no. They say, hey, you know, we took a gift of real estate once, but we'll never do that again. What a nightmare. Or they say, well, we do accept real estate on a limited basis and only, you know, with months of board approval, and we'll never do it if it takes cash payment. That whole bargain sale, friends, you're going to meet some nonprofits, especially our community foundation friends, who say they take real estate, but if it comes to paying off mortgages, what if it's a $10 million strip mall in California with a $5 million mortgage and it needs $1 million worth of repair? Somebody's got to come out of pocket $6 million and all the holding costs. Our team will do that because at the end of the day, there's $4 million in equity. It's a good deal to do. So most of them say no to most offers. It is the nonprofits themselves that have been blocking the market. Remember how I told you you'd learn why you've never heard of this? The reason you've never heard of it is because there's never been a reason to teach realtors, and there's never been a reason to bring this to the market if 99.9%, all right, guys, mute yourselves out, please. If 99.9% of nonprofits won't take real estate, there's been no reason to talk about it or market it or look for it. That's why you've never heard of it. So our team of experts includes that specialized nonprofit, and we're going to show you a couple of videos, case studies with Bruce from Realty Gift Fund. He's our favorite. We've got a couple of them, but he's our favorite. Their mission, the specialized nonprofit, is to accept real estate of any kind from anywhere, taking on all financial and environmental risks, and take that transaction and convert it into cash so that they can grant the money to the nonprofits that the donor wants to have. It's that simple. It does not have to be complicated. It is really that simple. It's a third party, just like credit card processing. Every nonprofit in this country, when you go to their website, have a donate here button. And when you click on that button and you put in your Visa or your MasterCard, in a couple of days, they get 97, 98% of your donation in their bank account. Credit card processing. The nonprofit doesn't know what your credit score is, how much your balance is, what you can afford, none of that. They just have a button and they know that 98% is going to show up. It's the same thing here. They just need to pick a real estate processing, and we are it. the Rock Team of Experts, a specialized nonprofit that exclusively accepts gifts of real estate. So there's a couple groups that can handle real estate, but the ones that we work with handle nothing but real estate, when others will take other things like bank, like business interest and stocks and things like that. The specialized nonprofit provides the donor the tax benefits. You do not have to worry about what forms need to go to the IRS, nor does your Boys and Girls Club or church or veteran group. They absorb the title and financial tax, financial risks that are inherent in all real estate, meaning your church, your veteran group never have any risk because they never take title. Friends, don't worry about if the property's contaminated or if it's got a lien on it. You're not dealing with any of that anyway. The specialized nonprofit is going to decide if that's a property they can clean up and resell. They work with the brokerage communities to sell the real estate. In other words, they are brokers. They are CCIM. They do real estate and have for 40 years each, but they do not want to list the property. They got all they can handle with the negotiations, etc. They want to pay the realtor a full commission to sell the property. And it is so important that we all understand in this triangle of trust what's in it for everyone else, so that we can do what we do best and refer the rest. They grant out to the other nonprofits the bulk of the cash proceeds. So ultimately, it's about 98% of the proceeds, if not more. So here's what the awakening means. Non-cash versus cash gifts. Our dear, dear friend, Dr. Russell James, is not only a professor at Texas Tech, he teaches planned giving. He has brilliant strategies and research around talking to donors. He knows all about the numbers and the people and all of it. And there is a research document, therock.com/FAQS, has 13 of the top most asked questions that we receive. There's an interview there with me and Dr. James, who also wrote the foreword to our book. And also there is a link to the research that Dr. Russell James did that proves when a nonprofit accepts non-cash assets, they can double, triple, 6 times what they bring in with only cash. Now, Jackie Franey of the Nature Conservancy is one of the few huge nonprofits that takes real estate from all over the country. And she has been quoted by saying the same donors on the donor list will give 3 to 7 times more. And then this gentleman, Matt, talks about that as well. No additional donors are needed. This is important because if you're thinking to yourself, where do these donors come from? Where do I find this fictitious unicorn of a generous, heart-centered human being with multiple properties? Friends, they're on your Facebook, they're in your LinkedIn, they're on your donor list, they're in your past clients. Please do not get hung up in the scarcity mindset. I don't know anyone who would donate real estate. How could you possibly make assumptions for people that you know when you've never had this conversation with them before? So the collaboration, let's do what we do best and refer the rest. So what does the nonprofit world do best? They strengthen their donors' interest. They promote the cause. They let people know, that they're stopping human trafficking and feeding the animals, etc. They cultivate those emotional connections with their donors. And let's be clear, we want you to know that we do not want the donor list. So nonprofits hold their donor list close to their chest, and they should. It is the most valuable asset that they have, is their donor list. We do not want their donor list. What we want to do is to help them to share the benefits of how non-cash assets can help that nonprofit. We want them to be able to start asking for gifts of real estate confidently, knowing that they have a real estate team to help them. Now, the specialized nonprofit, do what you do best. Here's what they do best. They accept the real estate, they fix the real estate, they sell the real estate, and they grant the proceeds to the nonprofit that the donor has designated, period. They intervene on behalf of all the stakeholders. In other words, you don't need to explain all this. Just bring the donor and they'll talk to the specialized nonprofit and they will explain it to them. They provide the resources, meaning if there's a need for construction, if there's a need for a really creative title company, etc. And by the way, whoever the title companies are, you need to invite them to the next master class. They solve the complexity of the entire gift cycle. We've got several stories of, cattle, like ranches full of cattle, heads of cattle. Like, what do you do with that? Wineries that are in the middle of a harvest and making wine. Like, it can be very complicated, but they handle all that stuff. And then they grant the bulk of the net proceeds to other nonprofits. Now, who are we? What do we do? The Rock? We help with the systems and the scripts and the support, social media strategy. We are the marketing arm, if you will. Although we are not a marketing company, we are more strategy. We are more how to leverage, how to bring together all the for-profit and the nonprofit to come together and make money making a difference. Now, you may recognize some of these logos. These all have benefited from the third way, the win-win-win way. All of these on here have received money from real estate that they did not handle themselves. And it's interesting. You have a Boys and Girls Club in your community. You have a Habitat for Humanity. You may have a United Way, etc., etc. But they don't know about this. It's up to us to educate them. Now, Fidelity Charitable, that one right at the top, they are the largest of the 1.5 million nonprofits. They bring in $13 billion a year because they house the donor advised funds. And we're going to teach you about that in section 4 and 5. But Fidelity Charitables doesn't even want to do their own real estate. Even they use the same team here. It's good enough for Fidelity Charitables and the Girl Scouts and Habitat for Humanity, etc. It's good enough for us. All of these universities are examples. There's the rare university like Harvard, like Prudential, or Purdue, that does their own real estate, but they're few and far between. Now, I've mentioned Jim Wooten a couple of times. We just love Jim. He says he's 76 years old, and now that he has learned what we are doing, he is so excited. He is going back to the 250 to 300 churches and nonprofits that he's helped with the second way for the last 25 years, and he's telling all of them about how we do it here. We really recommend that you get to know Jim. His book, I'm telling you, it's complicated. He's brilliant. And when you read that book, you'll think, oh my God, I don't know if I want to do that. That's so hard. But then when you read Real Estate is Hot, Fundraising is Not, you'll be like, oh, okay, there's an easier way. And that's what Jim said. So let me share with you this case study as we wrap up section 2. Berkeley Humane Society. December 2021, a property owner calls the team on a Sunday. Hey, I got 13 lots, vacant lots. It's mid-December. I need a tax deduction this year. Can you do it? And because this team that you watching this video can work with as well, because they do this full time, it's all they do, they were able to take title, give that donor the tax benefit he was looking for before the end of the year. So the property was put on the market and it was sold. And there was $400,000 that came from that first round of land. And Berkeley Humane Society was called and they were told, hey, look, this gentleman is very generous. He has donated this land. You are getting about $400,000. We know that nonprofits aren't typically expecting that kind of influx of cash. Wanted to let you know. And they said, what? We're getting how much? From what? Can we do it again? Yes, you can. So remember how I said risk-free, no money out of pocket. Berkeley Humane picked up the phone, had some lunches, sent out a handful of emails and said, we don't know how this works, but real estate is a way that you can help us. If you've got any real estate, let us know. Donation number 2, 55 and older community, Carmel, California. When this house sold, that's the amount that they got. So friends, here's how this works. 1 nonprofit, 2 donations, 6 months, $1,052,000 and some change. And now, if you go to their website, don't put it up yet, Alan. We'll share it with people at the end. I don't want you going down rabbit holes. I want you to stay with me. But when you go to their website, they got a really fancy page and there's all kinds of widgets and you can put in how much you paid for the property and what it's worth and what's your tax rate and how much you're going to save on capital gains and all that stuff. But they didn't have that fancy website until they made $1 million in 6 months. That's how it works, my friends. So why the specialized nonprofit was created is because real estate is underperforming. Now look at these numbers. Cash in America, cash is 3%. Your neighbor, your mama, the broker of your office, the person who runs the American Red Cross, all of us, less than 3% of our wealth is available in cash. 43%, 43 is in real estate. But when you look at the money that comes into the nonprofit world, there is $474 billion a year that comes into the 1.5 million nonprofits. 90% of that comes from the 3% of cash. 9 billion of it comes from real estate, and that's only 2%. So these guys that put together Real to Give Fund that we work with said to themselves, said to each other 20 years ago, how is it that we're all commercial agents, we're all philanthropic, we all sit on boards of nonprofits, some of us run nonprofits, and 43% of wealth in real estate is not being leveraged to help the nonprofits. So they went, actually Bruce tells me he interviewed 1,000 nonprofits. He flew to meet with them. They did all of this 20 years ago to get all the information together, and they realized that the best way to help any and all nonprofits would be to create one nonprofit that could do exactly that which they found was the missing link, which is facilitate the transactions for them. So right now, $9 billion a year is donated to nonprofits through gifts of real estate, and that is with less than a fraction of a percent even looking for real estate. That's with 99.9% of nonprofits not only not looking for it, but turning it down when it is offered. So experts like Dr. Russell James and Bruce Geis and Candy C.E. Baker have been quoted that 2% can easily shift to a lousy 6.5%, 9 billion to 29 billion a year because of how much wealth is held in real estate. with a little bit of education and a little bit of options being posed to people, imagine being a part of that kind of shift in how nonprofits are being funded and getting paid to do it. That's why every sale needs a broker. Now, Gene Frederick is the granddaddy of EXP. We met with him at his house in Puerto Rico over a year ago. And he said, Cammie, I've never even heard of this. This is the way to meet people that are high net worth. He said, people my age have as a matter of fact, if you go to therock.com, Alan, if you want to put this in, therock.com/EXP, pretty much everything we share with you guys is therock.com/something. And this one's EXP. There's an interview with me and Gene talking about this. And he says, you know, people my age have acquired 5 or 6 or 7 houses. We don't know how this works. So, questions, comments, hallucinations? I'm just going to go over and find another video while I am waiting for you all to ask any question.
Hey, Cammie, I have a question.
Sure.
So you stated that the donations increase by the donors when nonprofits have received real estate, or not received real estate, but you know, had the funds from the real estate transaction. So what do you mean by what do you mean by the donations go up? Can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. So in this research document that Dr. Russell James did, I highly recommend that you take a peek at it. They read 1 million tax returns from 200,000 nonprofits over a 5-year period. And they compared nonprofits that only accept cash to nonprofits that accept non-cash assets, whether it be stocks and bonds or real estate and other things like that. And they've proven that when a nonprofit accepts non-cash assets, they can double and triple how much money they bring in as opposed to just cash. The same donors on their list of donors that is cash conservative is asset wealthy. And when they can dip into their wealth bucket of real estate, they will give 3 to 7 times more than they normally would from cash only.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Just looking through.
So where's that? Where's that interview with how he read a million tax returns, please?
If you go to therock.com/FAQS, like facts and questions, FAQS. At the bottom of that, so there's 13 of the most commonly asked questions that we hear. Then there's an interview with me and Bruce Geis of Realty Gift Fund. Then there's an interview with me and Dr. James. And at the very bottom, you can click on the research document that talks about that.
Thank you.
All right, I am going to, any other questions while I'm here? I found a quick little. Yeah.
Let me just interject one thing. The other thing I think that's missed a lot is that for nonprofits that don't accept real estate, they're just accepting cash as a contribution, cash will conflict with donors' lifestyle. So let's say a donor has to send a child to a college next year, or they're looking to buy a new house, or they're going to make a large purchase, or they're going to go on a vacation. Giving cash will conflict or compete with those choices that donors have to make. If they have, the opportunity to give them their wealth bucket of real estate, it won't take away from those decisions they're going to make in the future. Just something to consider.
Thank you for that, Alan. And we are going to talk about that more in the presentation, but I reread this report that Dr. James did just a couple of days ago because I was sharing it with someone. And in that report, he talks about, think about the psychology. If you are anyone that has a $15 an hour job or a CEO of a multi-million-dollar corporation, if you ask them for cash and they're comparing giving a donation to you compared to other things that they do with cash, like buying Christmas presents or like going to dinner, or any of the things that they would do with cash, in comparison to give a $5,000 or $50,000 donation. That's a big disparity compared to the $100 for dinner that they might be comparing it to. But when you shift to talking to them about giving from their wealth bucket, where they have 2, 3, 5, 100 pieces of property that range from $200,000 to $200 million, etc., it's a different mindset for them to give from that wealth bucket as opposed to their pocket change cash. It's just a whole different animal. Dr. James, by the way, if you reach out to him, if you want to type his name in, Alan, in the chat so they get the spelling right, he's real big on LinkedIn, on reaching out on LinkedIn. He will send you over 100 videos, his newest books, just fucking fascinating. You really want to check that out. So let me share the screen. I want to introduce you all to Bruce Geis, our buddy over at Realty Gift Fund. When I learned about charitable real estate 3 years ago, and I learned that we needed this secret sauce, this third party to handle these transactions, I interviewed 6, and it was hard to find. But in the 6, Realty Gift Fund was the only choice at the time, because not only do they keep the least amount of the donation to do the deal, they also will work with any and all nonprofits, and not all of them will. They also are the ones that guarantee the full commission to do the transaction, and they're just the nicest, easiest guys to get a hold of. So let me share this video, and at the end of the video, in about 5 minutes, we will come back and have the next section. The real agents of change are always thrilled to hear about the different success stories that Realty Gift Fund, our favorite specialized nonprofit, all those successes that they are having in the world, because every successful deal leads to proceeds and funds that go to the nonprofit world. Bruce, what story are we going to hear about today?
Let's talk about a single family home in Los Gatos, California. It's in the Silicon Valley. Interesting story for a few different reasons. We have a very close relationship with Fidelity Charitable, who, as you know, is the largest public charity in America. They process $9–10 billion worth of non-cash and cash donations into their donor advised fund pools every year. They have a complex assets team that will take boats, bitcoins, cars, art, and significantly the partial interests of businesses. That's a big part of what they do. And they do say that they take real estate, but they make it really clear that their acceptance policy is very thin on real estate. And the word that's starting to circulate is that they're really just sort of getting tired of real estate, but they can do it themselves. Now, like many other big nonprofits who do accept gifts of real estate, these nonprofits have a process that they put their donors through to evaluate the donor's goals and to evaluate the property itself and to fit everything within the box that they have created as an acceptance process. And so we happened to send an email over to one of our favorite people at Fidelity, just congratulating her on some achievement that she had. And she immediately wrote us back and said, hey, you can help us. We're stumped with one of our significant donors who has a time frame restriction. He had an appraisal on his property. It was about to expire. These appraisals, when you do a non-cash donation, have a shelf life of 60 days. And if you don't close the donation within that 60 days, you have to go out and redo the appraisal. And he did not want to do that. So they called us and said, we have a gentleman who's got a house in Los Gatos, California, Silicon Valley. He has 21 days left on his appraisal timeline. Can you help him out? We were introduced to him on a Friday. We put him under contract on Sunday. We met a broker on Monday to get the property listed. And so we had two things going on at one time. We were processing the donor's donation agreement, and we were starting the process of getting a listing agreement with a broker to sell the property, but we had to stay focused on him. He was our primary objective. He had 21 days to close this donation, or he was going to have to redo his appraisal. We got him closed in 17 days. We had to go to a title company, get a title report. We had to do an inspection. There were 3 inspections, a roof inspection, a general inspection, and California requires some other kind of inspection. We had to pay for all these inspections. We had to not only engage the inspectors, we had to get them to do the work right away. We did that by promising to pay them immediately, which we did. We got the reports just in time. We worked with the title company, and we got him closed in 17 days, 4 days before his deadline, which made him super happy. We then did go under contract. We got 7 offers on this house, none of them rising to the level that we thought the house might be worth. This house appraised for $1.8 million. And I think I've told you, this was an 1,100 square foot home built in 1950. $1.8 million. Only in Silicon Valley. Only in Silicon Valley could that be true. And so it was a bit of a struggle, even in this really good real estate market, to get a buyer to step up to that level of value. But we did get the house under contract for $1,750,000. We were really happy with that. And we finished that process in about 30 days. And we generated $1,650,000 in charitable funds, primarily for our donor advised fund at Fidelity Charitable. Realty Gift Fund kept 2% of that, and all the rest of it went to the Fidelity DAF. I might just finish this little story by saying that without our prompting, the donor wrote to our contact at Fidelity Charitable and asked one question: why didn't you introduce me to these people before? And she wrote back to him, and we were all on the email. And she said, our mistake, Realty Gift Fund is fantastic. They always do what they say they're going to do. And we're real happy for you. So
I want you to say that again, because you were breaking up a little bit. Tell me what she said in the email again.
Well, her response was, we're really sorry for what we put you through, but Realty Gift Fund is fantastic, and we're really happy for you. So, it's a close relationship with Fidelity Charitable that we have. It's now a close relationship we have with this donor, who has lots of friends and other people in his circumstances, and I'm sure we'll tell the story.
Wonderful story. And just to be clear, as you have taught me, the charitable gifting of real estate is a 2-step process. There's the charitable gift and then the charitable funding.
Right.
And so when you said that he needed to close in 21 days, what he needed was that first step, the charitable gift part, where you, as a nonprofit, accepted the gift, got him free and clear of his ownership, got him the tax benefit that he wanted. That was step 1. And then step 2 was listing it, liquidating it, and putting the cash into the nonprofit world. Yes?
Well, that's true. And so we owned this house. We took a deed from our donor and we were now the owner. It was a vacant house. We had to get insurance. We were subject to the utilities. We had to sign up with all the utility companies in the local municipality. We had to hire a landscaper to do what he had been doing for years, mow the lawn every 2 weeks so that it looked nice for the broker and all of his showings. We became the owner. And but then we did get it under contract. It was a little bit difficult to get it done. That process was slow. The process is slow around America these days with appraisers and lenders and what have you. And our buyers were going through a lending process. So they got snagged by that. It would have closed more quickly had it not been for that process, but that's the way the process goes. We were the happy owner of an 1,100 square foot, $1.8 million home in Silicon Valley. I did have thoughts about flying out there and just staying there for a night to see what it was like. But you know, I can imagine it. We've seen lots of homes like this.
Well, there you have it. There's another story with our buddies over at Realty Gift Fund. If you go to that link, there are 14 case studies, and we encourage you to watch all of them. As a matter of fact, I would encourage you to share all of them. Put them in your social media feed. Send one out to your email list. In other words, you know, the only reason people aren't doing this is because they've never heard of it. And when they do hear about it, not only do they want to do it, but they're grateful that you brought it to their attention. And even if they don't do it, look at how sophisticated it makes you look that you know about it and that you're bringing it to their attention. Any comment, question before we get into the next section? All right, here we go. Share the screen. All right, section 3. Here's all the different benefits to everyone. So benefits to the donor. Now keep in mind, these are benefits based on how we do it the win-win-win way. If you know a nonprofit is trying to figure this out on their own, or a donor is doing it on their own, then some of these benefits are definitely not happening for them. So at first, they are avoiding the capital gains tax from the appreciated real estate. Now that's going to happen no matter how they do this process. They qualify for a tax deduction against the adjusted gross income. So we'll be showing you that example in the next section. Preserving liquid assets to protect lifestyle. This is what Alan was talking about. When people have cash and they are having to decide between making a donation to their favorite nonprofit or buying Christmas gifts for their children, making a donation and attending a golf tournament for their favorite nonprofit, or buying groceries even. Like the cash is something that is being competed with, and their lifestyle suffers in some cases because we only have 3% cash. Another benefit is that this eliminates a complex asset from their estate. So, you know, some of the stories we share are people's primary residence, and that was it. That's all they had, and that's what they wanted to donate. Or maybe it was a second cabin or a second beach home. But for some of these people, they have multiple properties and a very complex array of situations, and they're at a place in life where they want to eliminate that, especially to leave it to their children, which is the next point. They want the asset transfer to be a lot easier for the kids. And believe it or not, one of the benefits, now remember I said this is only when they do it the way that we do it, the convenience. Friends, there is nothing convenient about a donation of real estate if it is a nonprofit who's trying to handle it themselves and the property is across the country and they don't have a real estate department and they're paying off mortgages and fixing roofs and getting rid of mold and all that stuff. But it's convenient when you have a team that this is all they do. So one of our stories is about Linda, Linda, who donated a piece of real estate, she heard a presentation, something like this. She had been donating $25 a year for 32 years. Think about that. $25 a year for 32 years. Might not have considered Linda a good prospect for donating real estate, but lo and behold, she had a cabin that she did donate. And the woman who was the fundraiser, Kelly, at that nonprofit, told me last year, she said one of the main reasons that Linda donated that real estate was because it was inconvenient and she didn't want to deal with the hassle. Please take this off my hands is one of the reasons why she donated. Now, donors can receive a partial cash payment for any reason. It's called a bargain sale. So the answer to the question, do they have to donate the full amount? Does the property have to be free and clear? The answer is no. They can get debt paid off. They can maybe, they bought that condo for 200 grand 10 years ago and they want to get that money back in their pocket. Maybe they need to tailor down the size of their gift. Maybe their accountant says, well, you could give a $5 million deduction, but you can only write off $1 million. So in other words, they can pull cash so that they're only donating that which they can leverage in their tax deduction strategy. They can replace, buy life insurance replacement. So like Jim was saying in that other story, sometimes people can leave more to their children by buying life insurance than by leaving them the real estate anyway. Now, for those of you who are saying, okay, this is kind of starting to make sense, like I'm impressed that there are all these benefits that I wasn't even aware of, but seriously, who would possibly donate their property? Well, here's an example. This couple donated $129 million in real estate just last year. These are the people that do. People who have acquired a lot, they are philanthropic, and they are just looking to do the right thing before they kick the bucket. Like these people were really, really generous to this community foundation. And 80% of them, friends, 80% of people who donate real estate do it for the right reasons, because they're a veteran and they want to help our veterans, because their child was human trafficked and now they want to stop human trafficking. These are emotional reasons why they donate. And 20%, it's just a business decision. They got together with their accountant. It made sense. This was a great way to avoid some tax. But either way, remember, $9 billion a year is donated, so it's happening. It's just a matter of, is your nonprofit going to benefit, and is your company, are you going to make money making a difference? And if it feels icky to you making money making a difference, well, then donate all the money that you make too. So either way, here's what you need to know. These property owners want to do it. Remember how we said, you can't convince. Anytime someone uses that word with me, Cammie, how do I convince our donors to do this? That's the wrong mindset to begin with. They want to do it. They are grateful that you actually brought it to their attention, and they're eager to learn more. Friends, we have 101 overviews for realtors, for nonprofits, for donors. You can share these videos. We can do a live 101 overview for your marketplace. If you're a nonprofit, we've got a woman, Claudia, out in California. Her church got a big church, seats 300 people. They Zoomed me in one Sunday, and I explained to the whole congregation how this works. Now, where do you find these donors? So you know them. Everybody knows Linda. Every one of us knows somebody that has been donating $25 a month for a year, cleaning out cages at the animal rescue, making sweet tea down at the church for the next Sunday brunch. We know these people. We just need to tell them. We just need to inform them. We just need to let them know that this is possible. And we can help you with that. We can help you with that with some really simple language. Now, benefits to the nonprofits themselves. These are just some different categories of 501c3. When people get a 501c3, they pick one of these categories. Deborah is not with us today, but she's with us a lot. Deborah joined our tribe back in January, and the day that she watched the master class for the first time, she saw a minister on the 700 Club talking about what he was doing for his church. She reached out to him, put me on the phone with him, and she's been creating relationships nationwide with churches ever since. She's very excited about how this works and is going to be a part of the Community Foundation collaboration. Now, nonprofits receive the benefits of gifts of real estate, but avoid the risk and liability if they do it this way. They embrace their donors' best interest, allowing the gifts they want to give. I have heard so many stories about how a donor tried to donate real estate and was turned down. They just didn't know any better at the time, but now you know. Remember what we said, it's a blessing or a curse. Don't make this a curse, make it a blessing and let people know. Because for the nonprofits, this can strengthen their donor relationship by tapping into their wealth bucket instead of their income bucket. Imagine every donor is on more than one donor list. Wouldn't you agree that if someone cares enough about the environment, they care about animals, they care about children, people have 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 different ways that they like to give back. Those donors that are on your church donor list are also donating for the local food pantry, etc. And one of those nonprofits is going to teach them about this, and it will strengthen the relationship. The one that educates that donor is going to get the money. Grow endowments at 6 times the rate of nonprofits who only accept cash. Dr. Russell James received 3 to 7 times more from the same donors. See, we want to keep saying that. We want to keep reminding you that these kinds of gifts come from the donors that are already on the donor list. When people are wanting to reach outside of their donor list to find these donations, we always say, shame on you. Shouldn't you let your own donors know about this tax benefit? And sometimes nonprofits want to bring together a Zoom with 500 agents. They want to market to a whole bunch of cold market realtors. And we always say, look, there are realtors right there in the pew on Sunday. There are realtors that are helping out at your homeless shelter on Thanksgiving Day. They deserve to know about this. You've got to talk to the people that you already know. Expand the number of major gifts without adding any new names. We're kind of beating this dead horse, but the thing is, sometime during this presentation, somebody will ask, hey, where do we find the donors? Friends, they are the donors that you already know. Okay, advisors. Now, our world of advisors includes anyone who advises people on real estate. We'll bring them into a few categories here. So real estate brokers, when I first saw this, when I shared my story with you guys about how I was in real estate all that time and I did the car shows and all the fundraisers and things, that's why after all that door knocking and role playing and calling expireds and for sale by owners, that's why I saw this and said, hey, wow, finally, a way that realtors really can differentiate themselves. They can be different. They really can have a unique sales proposition. They can become an advisor to the wealthy with this. They can switch focus to a seller not emotionally attached to the property. What does that mean? Have you ever had a client in real estate that was so emotional about their property and how their property was better than their neighbors and they wanted $50,000 more because their kids grew up in this house, or that old couple that has 4, 5, or 6 adult children all over the country and they all want to tell you what to do with mom's house? Friends, when the real estate is donated, when you list it, you're listing it with the specialized nonprofit that now has the property, is is real estate savvy, and they're going to list it at the price that you all agree on. There is no emotion to it. You're going to earn a full commission for these listings. Financial advisors, let's move that hard asset to assets under management. I didn't even know what assets under management meant 3 years ago. AUM. If you know what that is, you're 10 steps ahead of the game from where I was. But we need to know why this benefits everyone. So we're going to have a whole section on financial advisors here in a moment. They're going to be able to preserve the next generation of clients. Look, financial advisors are just as competitive as realtors, are just as competitive as nonprofits. And when that financial advisor has a client that they've had for 30 years, and that client is moving, into a place where their asset is, maybe they're, getting ready to pass away, that financial advisor wants to maintain all those kids, all those adults, next generation clients. And when all of the hard assets have been put into a donor advised fund, that's a great way for them to maintain that clientele. Ultimately, CCRES, we're the only organization that is teaching about charitable real estate, have the only certification and now the only CE course in the country about this. And we are teaching all advisors to be proactive. Our friend, Deborah spoke up. I think it was Deborah that said, I know this church and I want to share this with them, but I don't know what to say. I'm kind of afraid. I don't want to say the wrong thing, etc. Friends, we want to teach you how to be proactive, how to confidently, not just tell them about it, but give them the gift. The gift. Your church wants to do more mission work. They want more people to know the Lord. They want more children to be able to come. They need a bigger building. In other words, give them the gift. Become proactive. We will help you. Strengthen relationships with your existing clients. People are fickle. Every 7 years they move, but they also forget your name, and they're also looking for cheaper commissions and whatever. When you can call your 500 past clients, not to beg them for business, not to ask them necessarily for referrals of, who do you know that's looking to buy or sell, but when you can call them up and say, hey, Bob, you got the American flag outside. I remember you're a veteran when I sold you that house 3 years ago. Listen, I want you to know that I had just become this area's only charitable real estate specialist. We are funding nonprofits, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I knew that you would want your veteran group to know about this. Friends, if you don't think that's going to strengthen relationships, you haven't been listening. Like, people, 87% of people want to do business with people that are passionate and doing something in the community. Let that be you. And how about getting those new clients? When you are talking to a nonprofit and their board about this, that board has people who have property. And you know what? Even if they don't donate the property, people who are alike know other like people. They know other people with multiple properties. They know other nonprofits and board members. You will be introduced and referred. We got story after story about that. This is all about business development. Let's make money because of making a difference. Let's make money and make a difference at the same time. Leveraging this marketing, like I was just sharing, share those case studies, share the interviews with all the other rock stars. We've got about 100 podcasts and interviews with others just like you, and you can share those to show people this is happening all over the country. This is, so I put in my Google alerts to let me know donated real estate, charitable gifting of real estate. So I get alerted 2-3 times a week with transactions that are happening with or without us. And this one is one where this property was just donated to this university. As you can see, the date just happened in October. We just want to keep you informed. This is happening all around us. We just don't know it because we haven't been looking for it. So end of section 3, but I'm going to go ahead and jump into section 4 because we need to catch up on some time. Let's jump right into these financial advisors and the donor advised fund. Now, for those of you who are not financial advisors, and you might think to yourself, this doesn't sound very exciting, look at this. Financial advisors initiate 65% of all major gifts. You want to be buddies with them. You want to invite them here to the masterclass. You want to do cause marketing campaigns with them because they have the clients that need to be more philanthropic and need the tax deductions. And now you don't have to just have that one financial advisor. All of us realtors go to Panera's and spend an hour with a financial advisor and promise to be buddies forever. Friends, you can go and share this with 50, 100, 500, because you are giving them the gift of having information that they didn't know. These people know clients that want to be more philanthropic and that need tax deductions. Here's what they don't know. Here's what they don't know. They don't know about the third way. They don't know how easy this can be. Even they that reach out to Fidelity Charitables and Schwab and Vanguard, friends, those places don't want to do real estate. They make it difficult. We don't. So the favorite nonprofit of a financial advisor, and by the way, my nonprofit friends, stay with me. Don't be thinking to yourself, well, I don't want the financial advisor going and putting money in a donor advised fund. I want them to give it right to me. When we teach you how to meet and mingle with these financial advisors, they've got clients with millions of dollars already in donor advised funds. And we're going to show you right now that that is a fund that you could get a grant this week. 5,000, 50,000, 500,000. So stay with me. The fastest growing public charity in the nonprofit world is the donor advised fund. I did not know. I didn't understand donor advised funds for the first year. So we added this module so that you can skip that learning curve. It is a charitable investment fund regulated by a public charity that is funded by the donor. So I like to break it down. It is a fund that is advised by the donor. It's funded by the donor. It's administered by a qualified sponsor like Fidelity or Schwab or Vanguard. It's directed by the donor and grants money to other nonprofits. So let's say, for example, the donor loves their church, but they're selling this property and they're getting $500,000. And they don't really think that the church would know how to manage that right away. So maybe they put that $500,000 in a donor advised fund that grows interest, and maybe they just give $50,000 a year to that church for 10 years. It's an alternative to a private foundation, which has a lot more stipulations. It entitles the donor to a tax deduction, fund grows tax-free, grants are made tax-free. So some people who own real estate don't know what nonprofit they want to give it to, but they know they need a tax deduction right now. So they liquidate the property, they put the money into a donor advised fund, they got their tax deduction, and maybe over a 6-year period, and now that money is growing and they can give it to any nonprofit over any length of time. It can be their whole life, or they can leave it to their children. The donor can continue to make contributions to it. They could put money in there from selling stock or cryptocurrency, anything. They can make as many grants to nonprofits as they like, of any size, any time. So the donor advised fund, here's some advantages to the financial advisor. The direction of the charitable account can include or be passed to others, say from initial donor to the next generation. So you got Bob and Mary, they're in their 70s, they got tons of property, they've got little Billy and little Alice, and they know that little Billy and little Alice don't want that warehouse, they don't want that strip mall, they don't know what to do with that RV resort. So they're able to take all that and put it into an account that's easy to give to the children. The financial advisor often retains this next generation. We talk about that a lot. And they're also allowed to make money. They make money off of managing these funds. So that $1 million condo in Florida, financial advisor is not making any money off of Bob's condo in Florida. But when Bob liquidates it and puts it in a donor advised fund, now financial advisor is happy. Contributing real estate to a donor advised fund, once again, converts that hard asset into the assets under management that they can earn fees on. So here's some of the popular ones. You hear us talk about Fidelity and Schwab, National Philanthropic Trust, Vanguard, National Christian Foundation, American Endowment Foundation. Vanguard has actually got 3 or 4 deals right now in the pipeline with the team. We need to add one on here called the Endow American Network, new friend of ours that is actually teaching us, as I mentioned earlier, that people can put money in an endowment that they can earn income on until they leave it to the nonprofit later. So we keep adding lots more great information. So most DAFs do not accept real estate except on a very limited basis. So once again, Fidelity Charitables. Friends, they don't want to deal with real estate. They're managing money. They're managing millions and billions in assets. They need us to help them. They refer most real estate donations to the third-party specialized nonprofits, period. Now, this is another example. As you can see, this was in May, just last year. And it really represents what it looks like to be adding heart-centered, generous, wealthy people to your center of influence by being a charitable real estate specialist. This house is not something that this person could not unload. This was someone who needed a tax deduction and loved their nonprofit. So let's go ahead and have a couple of questions before we jump into this second to the last section. Rhonda, can I view the remainder of the presentation on the website? I won't be able to finish with the live presentation. We have the recorded version. So if you go to therock.com/store, you would see Masterclass as our first product. We do these live on the first and the third Tuesday for free. And for people who want to watch the recording, we have it on there for $47 for people. I can't tell you how much goes into creating because they don't just hold the money, they actually help you find the right places to give it to.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And as you and I talked about, Connie, you as a nonprofit want to be one of those nonprofits that the community foundation wants to have on their list to give grants to. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And Cami, it looks like some of these slides have been updated. So when that happens, what happens with, are they updated for the, shall we call them members?
Do you mean the recording of the masterclass?
I do.
We have currently, there are 2 versions of the masterclass. There's one that's been there for probably 18 months. And then we added another one when we had enough of a change that we just added a second one. So you have both variations of it. We do add, when something changes in the masterclass, we will add a new version. It's not every other week. That's way too much. But I'd say once every 2.5, 3 months, we put a new version of the masterclass up.
And is that available to those of us who invest the money?
Yes, 1000%. We want you to come live as often as you will, and we want you to watch that masterclass as much as you want to watch it. So when you become a specialist, which is the basic foundation, if you're not certified and if you're not on the map, then we can't move further with anything more advanced. And with that basic package comes the recording, and therefore any of the upgrades that happen to that package for life.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yep. Yeah, Sam is always doing this on Clubhouse. He's really social media focused. As a matter of fact, I have us live right now on Facebook Live and the Real Agents of Change private group. There's about 1,000 members in there, Deborah, and sometimes I do it live on there as well. So, yeah.
Where was that you do that live, please? You said Clubhouse or somewhere else?
Well, Sam does it in Clubhouse, but here, let me put in the chat. Facebook.com/groups/the Real Agents of Change. That's our Facebook group that you can go join for free as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let me see. Let me find. Yes, right? Yep. Let me see. We've got so many great stories. I'm gonna play. No. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go ahead and do the next section. So just to let you guys know how the day is gonna unfold, I'll finish the next section. And then play a 10-minute case study that you can watch and have a bio break. When we come back from the case study is when we will talk about what it looks like to have the investment of specialist versus champion. And I'm also going to explain the community foundation collaboration, because those who are already a champion and already here, we want you, first and foremost, to be in the community foundation collaboration. But you need to see what that all entails. So I'm going to share screen. Let's go through the next section and then we'll take a break. Okay, section 5, we're going to go through what qualifies as a gift of real estate. We're going to talk about I'm going to show you the comparison between a traditional sale and a donation of real estate, because everybody wants to see that side-by-side comparison. So let's go through that. Okay, What qualifies, basically in a nutshell, no timeshares, and it needs to have equity, and it needs to be marketable. So when you think about it, now that you understand there is a nonprofit that is taking title to this property, and that nonprofit is not going to take title to a property that A, doesn't have equity. So sometimes people will say, what about probate? What about foreclosures and short sales and whatever rabbit hole they're going down? And I say, well, the property has to have equity because it is the equity that's going to the nonprofit world. And people will say, well, what about property that's contaminated? What about property that doesn't sell? What happens if the property doesn't sell? Well, it doesn't matter because it's a specialized nonprofit that's taking title. So first and foremost, they are educated. They are smart cookies. They are not going to take property that they don't think they can sell. And if they do take property that they paid off a mortgage and gave the donor some cash and now they've got title to it and it doesn't sell, well, no skin off your back or mine or the church or the veteran group because they're the ones that have the title to it. So let's get into the details of what properties will qualify. So it can be any kind of residential. Sure, it's primary residence, it's second homes, it could be, a beach chalet, or it could be any kind of residential investment properties. We know people that own 100, 200 individual single homes all over the country. Sure, they can donate some of those. It can be commercial, any kind of commercial, from restaurants to strip malls to multifamilies, office buildings. There's all kinds of stories. And the thing about commercial is that is such a different beast. That is really scary to all the nonprofits in general. They would not know what to do with the strip mall that's 70% vacant, which is one of our stories is, that Realty Gift Fund took on this strip mall, put in the anchor tenant, and it increased the value of the property, and then they sold it. So any kind of commercial from anywhere in the country, friends, this real estate does not need to be in your backyard. It doesn't need to be in the same town or state as the nonprofit that's receiving the proceeds. This is real estate from anywhere in the country, and in some cases anywhere in the world, because if the owner has tax consequences in the United States that they would pay capital gains on that condo in Paris that they sell, then that could be a potential donation of real estate too. So land, raw land, residential, commercial, farmlands. Once again, no timeshares. It's just not real property. What qualifies? Length of ownership. They need to have owned it for at least a year. That's when the capital gains tax and all that fun stuff kicks in. Marketability. So it could be a property that's not marketable right this red hot minute because the current owner won't put $100,000 roof on it, or because the current owner won't reduce the price because of their tax consequences. But if they find out that they can write off the appraised value as the basis for their tax deduction, they might take that tax deduction. And then when the specialized nonprofit has the property, they may be willing to drop it by $50,000 or $100,000 in price. So marketability can change based on circumstances and ownership, but it needs to be marketable. The tax consequences, what qualifies? 80% of the people that we work with are people that want to help the nonprofit world. We're not looking for people who necessarily want to get one over on the government, although for those who want to see the government get less money and the nonprofits get more, that's always just a nice result of what we're doing. Minimum equity, we're looking for $250,000 in minimum equity. There's many stories of way less than that. The story of Linda and the cabin that she donated, there was only actually $39,000 in equity from that sale. But the situation just called for it. Realty Gift Fund was making a relationship with that nonprofit. So even though the minimum we're looking for is $250,000, there can be exceptions to that rule. And when you consider that the average equity is 550, actually 600,000. Actually, as of today, last year, there were 32 transactions done by the team and $32 million donated to the nonprofit world. So frankly, the average is $1 million per property now. So with that being said, the minimum equity is not as big of a deal as you might think. Maximum size, unlimited, any size. There is enough backing, financial backers to pay off any size mortgage. If the property has equity and it's marketable, we'll do the deal. What are the documents required? Net gift estimate. So Cammie, how does this look? What happens? Donor raises their hand, says, you know what, I got a property, I think I donated, let me see what the deal is. They are introduced to the specialized nonprofit. The nonprofit that brought the donor to the table can be there. The realtor that brought the donor to the table can be there. The donor's financial advisor, CPA, whoever, can have a whole party on Zoom. When the donor's specific property and situation and mortgage payoff and the whole thing is all out in the open, they do 2 net sheets. One, if it's a traditional sale and they just sold it and paid the taxes. And the second one would be what their situation would be if they donated it. When the donor says, yes, this is something I want to do, then the net gift estimate is the guiding document from start to finish for the whole process. Now, donation agreement versus bargain sale agreement. If the property is free and clear and no money exchanges hands, simple donation agreement. If a mortgage is paid off, there's liens, donor wants cash, if even $1 exchanges hands, it is called a bargain sale. And that's the difference between the documents. Donation agreement disclosure, just like any other real estate disclosure, disclosing that a professional appraiser is being used, and just all the details of the donation is put there, including where the money's going to go. So people will ask, well, how do I know that my nonprofit is going to get the money? Because it's in the real estate contract. This is a contract. This is something that's been happening for 100 years. And the team that we use does this for Fidelity Charitables. There's no one here who has any interest in finding your donor and pushing the nonprofit to the side to keep the 800,000. These are people who do this for a living, and their reputation and credibility is impeccable. IRS Form 8283. This is the form that is signed by 3 parties: the appraiser, the donor, and the nonprofit that accepts the piece of real estate. So we've been talking about this donor with a condo in Florida, and it's $1 million appraised value, 200,000 mortgage, 200,000 cash. Ultimately, the donation part in this case is 550,000. So this document is what goes to the IRS for them to get their tax deduction. And the second IRS form is what is sent kind of like a check and balance. It's only signed by the specialized nonprofit. They say, okay, first forms have these numbers, 1,400,000 paid out, et cetera, et cetera. Guess what? We sold it for $952,081. It's the way that the IRS does a check and balance. And remember, you don't do any of this stuff. You don't have to do it. We don't want you to do it. We want the specialized nonprofit to do what they do best, and you do what you do best. Listing agreement, purchase and sales agreements. It's the same ones in your state. If you had an REO property or a relocation property, same thing. Those banks and entities would sign your listing agreement just like we do here. That donation bargain sale agreement and the disclosures, once again, people ask, how do we know if our nonprofit's going to get the proceeds? It's all written in these agreements. These agreements are full disclosure, and everybody is on the same page as the whole process is happening. Okay. This is the comparison of the $4.5 million property. you'll notice on the left-hand side is the depreciation schedule. In order to talk specific numbers like capital gains and depreciation recapture and what would they be saving in their adjusted gross income, etc., you got to have a specific scenario. So on the left, which is a little bigger there, those are the numbers that are being used in this example. So we've got the conventional sale on the left, we've got the donation on the right, and let me preface this with the disclaimer: I am not a CPA, I am not a financial advisor, I am not an attorney, I do not claim any guarantees. I'm giving you an example. And frankly, as rough as it is and how I explain it, just goes to show, do what you do best and refer the rest. I'm just giving you a layperson's overview of why this is such a benefit to the donor and the nonprofit world. So, right off the bat, when you compare side by side with the depreciation recapture tax and the capital gains tax in a conventional sale, hey, Bob, just go sell that property and give us the proceeds. Here's why that's such an ignorant thing to say and do. Because right off the bat, $900,000 is going to the government in this transaction. So $900,000 more is going to go to the nonprofit from that piece of the pie. Cash benefit. This is a $4.5 million piece of property minus the 7% closing costs of the real estate agent and taxes or whatever. So it's a $4.1 million piece of property. But now that we are removing that $900,000 from the conventional side, this donor is actually only getting a 3.3 to write off of their adjusted gross income, whereas over on the right, they get a 26% increase and they're writing off the 4.1. The cash benefit to the donor is much higher, and so they are paying that much less in taxes. So ultimately, the cash value of this $4.5 million property on the left only goes to 4.8 because of all the taxes that come out and the taxes that aren't saved on the adjusted gross income. Whereas on the right side, that same property is valued at 6.2 million. That 29.7% increase is what we call charitable leverage. That property, the value of that property, how it plays out to everyone involved, the value is increased by 29% because of the donation factor. Now, you are welcome to share this with your CPA, your financial advisor. They can look at these numbers and pick it apart, but it's pretty cut and dry, these specific examples as to why this benefits the donor. People will ask, does this compare to a 1031? The only way it compares is the fact that there are no capital gains taxes being paid. But the donor needs to have philanthropic intention, because even though capital gains tax isn't being paid, there's a lot of money that could have been proceeds that is going to the nonprofit world. So it's only really for philanthropic people and from that perspective. But the other thing is, with a 1031 exchange, there's all those dates. I remember doing them with clients in the past. High stress value. Am I going to find the replacement property? Are all the dates and times going to be met, etc.? You don't have that problem with this because the specialized nonprofit takes title and gives them the tax deduction in 30 days or less. So all that stress is removed. Remember, take this off my hands. They're doing it for the convenience. So, having said that, let's finish up this module. This is what the preliminary property evaluation looks like. So if you go to therock.com/property evaluation, you'll see something similar to this in digital form. The first question is, what are the donor's unique goals? We want to work with people who have philanthropic intent. It's really important. It's almost necessary. I mean, people do it for a tax benefit, but that's something we're looking for. And then the typical information about a property that any real estate agent would get. How much do you think it's worth? How much do you owe on it? What kind of repairs are needed, etc. Now, these are two examples of other donations that I found online. This one over on the left is a wealth management company that is promoting why charitable gifting of real estate is a good idea. And then on the left, there's another example. This donation was actually, I believe, in another country. This one was. But the point is that these are popping up December 9th for this one, October 19th. These are things that are happening right now. Financial advisors are posting about this. I've got another one that she couldn't get the link to work with Community Foundation in Nebraska, who put down all kinds of ways that you can give to their nonprofit, including donating heads of cattle. So they're being very creative with how they're getting funded. Now, let me explain to you this roadmap, and then we're going to take a break. In the very beginning, it was asked of me, Kimmy, do you have a really simple bullet point like explanation of how it works? So we created the roadmap. And this is how simple it can be for you to explain. We do not want you to do this until you are completely comfortable with it, but we just want you to see how easy it is. And when you're part of the champion package, we're going to teach you how to do it. So, number one, top left, donation of real estate is here. Where it came from, how we found the donor, why they're donating, that's a whole different conversation. This is just explaining how it works. So, number one, you have a marketable piece of property, 80% chance is for the right reason, 20% chance is because it's a good tax deduction. Either way, doesn't matter, donor has property. Number two, specialized nonprofit, takes title, pays off mortgage, gives donor cash, takes on all the financial responsibility, and now has the real estate. Number three, they list it with a real estate agent, preferably a charitable real estate specialist who brought it to the table, or who the nonprofit is working with, or who the donor loves. That real estate agent lists the property just like any property they've ever listed before. And when it sells, number four, the money is granted to the nonprofits that the donor dictates, that the donor designates. This is Michael DeShavi, and this is one of the nonprofits that he loves. So imagine he's got this roadmap. He can show them just like you can. You can have your headshot and your information on number three if you're a realtor. And if you're not a realtor and you're the nonprofit, you can have your information over at number four, or you can all be working together. But the point is, this is how you explain the roadmap. Number four, proceeds are granted to the nonprofit. Now, number five, what we're saying here is, remember the whole thing about leverage. Remember about position, partner, promote. Don't just give the check, shake hands, and say, have a nice day. Consider promoting this. Consider letting the world know that your nonprofit is getting funded. Consider before it even closes, while that for sale sign is up in the yard, that you do a press release and you let the local news come and interview the realtor, the nonprofit standing in front of the sign. Imagine the hundreds of people driving by seeing you interviewed about how $800,000 is going to the local soup kitchen. Imagine the thousands of people on TV that are seeing you being interviewed. All the nonprofits that are going to want to work with you when you're the specialist that's helping with this. So number five, is about doing that business development, because when all of that's happening and another donor comes to the table, we start over at number one. Maybe this time a different nonprofit gets funded because they saw your interview and they reached out and said, hey, can you help us with that? And you said, sure, I can. So at number one, there's a donor. They have property that is donated, number two, to the specialized nonprofit who takes full responsibility. Specialized nonprofit listed with you at number three at a full commission. When the property sells, number four, the proceeds are granted. One nonprofit, three nonprofits, donor advised fund, wherever the donor wants it to go, it's their money. And then number five, promote, send an email, do a Facebook Live, do a press release, make a few phone calls, let people know. Imagine having, maybe a reporter or something at the closing where there's a picture of the nonprofit world that is receiving this money. So why nonprofits and realtors and everybody want to work with the Real Agents of Change is because we have the only system and support and strategy to help find the donations, to handle the real estate donations, to position, partner, and promote so that we can find more real estate donations. We have the only national database for charitable real estate specialists. It looks like this, but it's got a lot more on it now. Our goal is to have 1,000 people on here as soon as possible. And not just realtors, friends. We need nonprofits on here too. The realtors want to partner with nonprofits who understand how this works and wants to promote together. So with that being said, any questions before we do a 10-minute case study, taking our break, and then come back and I'll share with you what it looks like to be a part of our tribe. Charitable leverage. Kim, you picked up on that. That is a good one. Yep. All right, let me show you this video. You guys can come here and watch as many of these videos as you like at your own leisure. I'm going to play this last one. It jumps out at me today. So Bruce, I hear that you have a fun deal you want to share with us. Tell us where the donation came from, what does it look like, and who's getting the money?
Well, today I'm involved in a closing to multiple people here, but let me tell you about the background of the deal. We've been working on this donation for 7 months. Came to us in January. It was a 3 parcels of land that were being used commercially up in a small town, northern Minnesota, called Pine City, north of Minneapolis, on a lake, surrounded by residential properties, but there were 2 historic buildings on these 3 parcels that our 2 donors wanted to donate to us. They tore down one of the buildings. The oldest historic building is still there, a big brick, beautiful building, contaminated with asbestos mostly, maybe some oil and gas. But
now, what was the donor's intention? Why did they want to donate?
Well, they are charitably inclined. They both have donor advised funds already established at Fidelity Charitable. And they are partners who used to both live in the Minneapolis area. And they did many deals over their lifetime and had a portfolio. And this is kind of a remnant. They're both elderly and they're trying to unwind. And they thought that they would unwind by using this property as a 100% charitable donation. This is an outright gift. There's no cash going to the donor. And when they first came to us back in January, and we started looking at it, and we started calling the professionals up in the area, because we do know people up there in the Minneapolis area, our take was that this property was probably worth around $280,000. And the reason it was because it was an outlier in the midst of an otherwise residential subdivision on a lake. These parcels had lakefront visibility. And so it was odd that these were commercial properties. And when we were trying to find a user for this old building and maybe building some other commercial uses, we just couldn't find anyone who would give us any more than about $280,000 for the combined 5.5 acres. So we sat down with them and said, look, this is really a location that is intended to be residential. And we have a lot of development background in our group. We've created lots of subdivisions. We've gone to counties and cities and rezoned properties from one thing to another. And we proposed that we rezone this property from its commercial use to residential, and that we divide this 5.5 acres up into 7 residential lots, thinking that might add some more value to what we were doing. So I undertook the process of getting the subdivision going, which meant hiring an engineer, hiring a surveyor, and hiring a construction company that could build the few roads and utilities that we would need to service 7 residential lots if we were approved by the township. And my partner, Jay Grab, went out and looked for buyers who might be interested in a residential lot with lakefront property. And so he worked on that part and I worked on our part, and Jay came up with buyers that aggregated together to about $710,000 of value for our donors. So if we were able to create the subdivision, we were going to take the property from being worth $280,000 to $710,000, all of which was going to flow into the nonprofit world, although we were going to have some cost in doing all this. So I undertook the process of getting the land subdivided. I negotiated contracts with the various vendors we needed, particularly the gentleman who was going to build the roads and utilities. And the total cost of the whole thing, including fees and miscellaneous things, was about $90,000. So
now let me ask you, Bruce, why is it, this is important for our viewers, why is it that instead of just selling it as is and getting 280, you were willing to take on all these months, come out of pocket $90,000? Why didn't you go the easy route? What was your inspiration for taking this on?
You know, Cammie, sometimes the easy route is the best route, and I'm going to tell you a story in a little bit about the easy route. Okay, we do take the easy route sometimes, but we had an instinct that this would not be too much work. Pine City is a small community, and the process for a subdivision is rather simple in Pine City. And so we thought we would not hit a lot of barriers in our request to change the land from commercial, which nobody up there wanted it to be, to residential, which everyone wanted it to be. So we just had an instinct that while it might take some time, that we might not get a lot of opposition, and all it was going to cost was money. And so if you take $710,000 of sale value and you subtract $90,000 of cost and some closing costs, in the end, this was going to create $630,000 to the nonprofit world. And we just said, hey, that's something good to get out of bed for. And we did. And we went through 5 different public hearings. We went through a construction process, which then had to be inspected. And when it was inspected, it wasn't perfect. We had to go fix it. And all of our vendors were really eager to help us because they knew, I mean, these are contractors and surveyors and engineers. They knew that what we were up to was to create funds for the nonprofit world. So we got a lot of cooperation from everybody in the community, including the HOA and the title company. There was no broker involved. We went direct to, Jay was able to go direct to some buyers, and that saved us a lot of money. And today, I am signing documents to close on the final lot sales tomorrow, which is going to create this $630,000, which will be divided by the two donors equally, going into their donor advised fund with Fidelity Charitable. And, you know, they are thrilled. They didn't have to do anything. They didn't have to spend any money. We got a lot of cooperation from the vendors up there. Our out-of-pockets were rather minimal because we said to them, the day we close the sales is the day you will get your check. That's $90,000 worth of checks, you know, just sort of sitting there waiting for us to perform. And they believed that we were going to be able to perform, and we did.
So for those watching, a donor advised fund means that the donor can advise. You guys have already heard me explain the donor advised fund, but you know, that story has been a good one for us for the last year because it shows the value of having experts come in. Another nonprofit, first of all, they wouldn't take it 99% of the time. They just won't take real estate. But if they had, they would have been grateful to get the $280,000 that it was originally appraised for. But when you have experts that can look at it and say, well, wait a minute, let's do a little something here. Let's make a little bit of an investment, because at the end of the day, when they sold those properties, they got $700,000 when they had 7 separate residential lots. When they minus the $90,000 that they had put in, it's still $610,000 as opposed to $280,000. So, any questions about any of that?
Yes. Did they use 2 different donor advised funds for the 2 parties?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to see how flexible all of this would meet out. Thank you.
Yeah, super flexible, Deb. So, you know, for example, they could have put $100,000 in a donor advised fund, $100,000 to the church, $200,000 to the community foundation. In other words, once the property has been liquidated, it's up to the donor as to how they want to disperse the money.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right. Well, I'm going to jump right back in and finish this up then. It is right at 2:00 as promised. The bulk of the material has been completed. What we're going to get into now is, okay, this is all great, Cammie. What do we do with it? So we've gone through key number 1, learn. You turn that key, you learned this. You now know more than anyone else in your marketplace or your industry, no matter where you are, about how this works. What do you do with it? So let me go back and we will finish this part up. Bye. Choose your path, specialist only or champion. Now, I tend to confuse people here, but just know that being a specialist is the very first step. So what does that look like? Well, Dr. Russell James is one of our biggest advocates. He wrote the foreword for our book. And I love that I can quote him because I couldn't get away with saying this, but everybody loves him and it's okay. He says, I'm a numbers guy who teaches tax law and publishes research in economic journals. My research analyzes massive data sets covering hundreds of thousands of people and charities. The numbers are clear. Transformational philanthropy comes from major assets like real estate, but numbers aren't the problem. The problem is action. People can understand the idea and nod their heads at the numbers, but then nothing. They don't act. The disease is inertia and fear. The cure, you're reading it right now. Now, obviously, that's about the book, but the book is the handbook, the workbook, the Bible, if you will, of how this works. Now, once again, this is what it looks like to be a champion. These are people who are taking action, not just learning something new, but doing something with it. So Charitable Real Estate Specialist Package includes the Charitable Real Estate Masterclass live and online access. So a couple of you've asked about the recording. So you can get the recording, not this one. Our technology didn't work today. We're not recording it, but the exact same one is in our recording portal. And the recording is part of the specialist. You can rewatch it all you want. You also get certified. So there's a 50-question test. It's super simple. If you've paid attention here and you've been listening, then you can pass the test really easy. You need to get a 85% and you get certified. You get a nice little certificate and you get put on the map. So this map has been growing over time. If you go to therock.com / the tribe, the Rock Tribe, I believe is what it actually says. You'll see this, and you'll see that as you hover over the map, you'll be able to pull up different people that are certified. If there's people in your area, congratulations. They've already started. They've already started to educate people there. And I was just speaking with someone this morning who said, Kimmy, there's 2 people in my area. She's in California. And I told her, you need 200 because there's 5,000 nonprofits per county besides all the transactions. So being a specialist, you get featured on the map, you get certified, and you get the masterclass recording. And it was $400 for the year, and it will be again, but right now we're doing it for $97. So that's a no-brainer. That's a done deal. You've been here this long. Go get certified, become a specialist. This is the website. So if you go to our website, which I'm going to show you in a minute, therock.com / store. If you go there, you're going to see it for $400. So you want to go to therock.com / beyond living, which is where we have it for $97. Beyond Living is a shared housing nonprofit who is so excited about what we're doing and wants to help us promote this so much that they are subsidizing and providing these scholarships so that we can get 1,000 people on that map sooner than later for $97. So there's that. That's the basic preliminary. That's your first step. Become a specialist at that website. Now, at that website, you'll also get a free digital version of this book. We're going to start doing a book review here in the next couple of weeks where we'll have a live with yours truly, the author, going through the workbook. So key number 1 was to learn. That was the specialist part. That's all that's included in the specialist. You can come to the masterclass as much as you want, and you're certified, and you can use the logos on your business cards, etc., and you're on the map. But now let's talk about key number 2, lead generation. What you gonna do with this information? So lead generation, learning about the listing and liquidating, leverage. Friends, leverage requires strategy. You have to understand what's in it for the other person to be able to position, partner, and promote with other people so that you can ultimately leave legacy. That's what being a champion is all about. So, champion upgrade. We have this thing called the Legacy Launchpad, which helps you to launch your legacy in 30 days or less. These are a whole bunch of the programs that are in that training portal. And we have the custom marketing. As a champion upgrade, there's custom marketing packages that will be included in some of the upgrades. These are some of the marketing and the signs that we have. There are 60 social media posts that are included with the champion package. These are for your Facebook and LinkedIn. There's some email campaign templates. Every Thursday night, friends, put this on your calendar. People don't always remember this, but 6 p.m. Eastern on Thursday night, you can come and sit in on a strategy with me to talk about what to do with all this information. You'll be a part of our private Facebook group and get a autographed hard copy of the book. With the champion package, we want to teach you how to start talking to people about this. So the 4 S's, story, 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 stop talking. We learned this from Dr. Russell James. We have whole modules on that. We talk about, stop confusing people with too much techno talk. We want to just talk to them about the stories that we learn. So these are just some different names of different trainings that we have. The 7 P's from purpose to payoff is what I wanted to get to. This is a program that I've been doing since the first year of the Real Agents of Change, where we go through what is your purpose? What is their purpose? Meaning the people you're talking to, whether it's one person or a group of people or an email, you've got to direct your conversation towards what's in it for them. Let's talk about your presence, your positioning, how you're showing up on social media, partnering. Who can you partner with? How do you partner with them? How do you start promoting together? Because the payoff for being a part of all this is to have more influence and have more impact and income and inspiration. Now, this one program, back in 2020, I was doing a course on this for $597. This is a bonus when it comes to the champion package. So all these signs, templates that we have, and it's $97 a month. So $97 a month, no contract, cancel any time to become a champion and to start getting more training. But there's also some bonus stuff. What most people do, as a matter of fact, everyone, since we've started doing it this way, everyone, 100% of people, go with the $997 for the year, because not only do you get 2 months for free, but you get a free custom landing page. So for example, Barbara's on with us right now, therock.com/Barb Petrella, therock.com/Jim Wooten, therock.com/Alan Biles. You'll get one of these pages as a free upgrade when you do the $997 for the year. It includes an update on your bio, 2 versions of that roadmap, customized with your information on it. Here's some other bonuses. I'll be doing an interview with you, a recorded interview on Zoom, where we talk about you being a real agent of change. As a bonus, you'll get a couple of posts that are customized for you to promote your interview. And you'll get a Zoom background. You'll notice Barb has one, of course, mine, that's what that looks like. Alan has one, Tamisa, lots of people in the Rock are using their personal backgrounds. You get the autographed copy of the book. You'll get a 30-minute session with me. What's next? Everybody wants to know what's next. What do I do with this? Let's get on a Zoom. Let's talk about that, because it depends on you. What do you want to do with it next? Now, the cause marketing campaign is another bonus I'm throwing in for the $997 for the year, because this is what I was teaching. Remember all those flyers I put up, the Habitat for Humanity, the Realtors for Real Change, all those cause marketing campaigns I was doing for the coat drives and the diaper drives and the bra drives. We did all of that long before we knew about charitable real estate. This was all about doing a fundraiser and bringing lots of businesses and nonprofits together to market our business with a cause in mind. So these videos, this program, this is what I used to do. This is what I used to sell and used to be what my clients would participate in. This is a $997 value. And even though you may not be looking for venues to, hold events at. There's so much to be said around the strategy being the same, the language being the same, thinking of who to talk to, what to say, and how to say it. All of these things. This is a great program. I'm actually going to start selling this online for probably $197 just to teach people cause marketing campaigns. So once again, specialist is first, $97 for the year to be specialized, to be certified, to be on the map. Every year it will renew at the $97 or whatever you paid for it. Some people paid $400 for it. You're paying $97. The second thing is to become a champion. You can either have a $97 a month, cancel any time to get access to pre-created stuff and come to the strategies. If you want the custom stuff to be built in, it's the $997 for the year. And here's the part that I really, really, really wanted to get to for you. Okay, let me get past the champion stuff. We've already talked about all the champion stuff. The new collaboration, the Community Foundation. Now, you have to be a champion. You have to have the $997 champion package because you got to have a landing page that's customized. You got to have that Zoom background and all that fun stuff to be able to do this. So, Community Foundation collaboration. Let's talk for a minute about what a community foundation is. Community foundations are the heartbeat of the communities that they serve in the nonprofit world. They are the original local donor advised fund. They've been around for 60 years and they are specifically focused on their community. So community could mean state, like New Hampshire or Rhode Island. Oops, knocked over my phone. It could mean city, like San Diego, it has a community foundation, or it could be demographic, like Charlotte Jewish Community Foundation, or they actually have a Black philanthropist community foundation in the Carolinas as well. So community means just that, whatever your community is. So the community foundation is to a donor what realtors are to a for sale by owner, meaning if a for sale by owner is trying to sell their property with no expertise, no guidance, no marketing to back them, the for sale by owner is going to have a hard time and isn't going to get as much money, and it's not going to be as professional or easy. So when a donor is looking to donate to charities, a community foundation guides them just like a realtor would guide a financial advisor. So the community foundation has the knowledge and the guidance and the expertise and the vetted nonprofits to put together with the donors. They are extremely well respected in their community. Just being a part of the community foundation levels you up, and to be a partner with them is what we're talking about. Now, the Amelia Group, there are 600 community foundations nationwide, and the Amelia Group is the top 50 that manage 500 million or more in assets. They already understand real estate. They wouldn't be managing that much money if they didn't take non-cash assets, especially real estate. So they're much more likely to be open to the conversation about it. This is an invitation-only exclusive group. They don't have a website or a logo or an online presence. They are a hand-selected group. And we have a liaison with the community, with the Amelia Group. He wants to provide rock stars. He wants to provide a real agent of change realtor. This is about realtors. He wants them to meet us so that we can help them get more gifts of real estate. So what we're doing is we're putting the real estate agents together with the community foundations via a warm introduction. This is not about cold calling. As a matter of fact, if you cold call any of them, you will be excluded from anything to do with the real agents of change moving forward, because we're telling you we have somebody to make the warm introduction, to make us look professional, to guide you into that conversation, And if you're cold calling them, you're not representing us the way that we are wanting to have this sophisticated conversation. Number two, 87% of consumers, customers, and clients in your marketplace, no matter what industry you're in, 87% of people want to work with those of us who are community focused. And when you can show up in your press release and in your social media and in your title that you're part of the community collaboration, community foundation collaboration, I'm still getting that down. It elevates you in the community. This is about us leaving that impact and influence by going straight to the top. So you are welcome to reach out to any nonprofit, all the veteran groups, all the homeless shelters, all the churches, all you want. But what we're saying is we have an express route, warm introduction to the top, to the community foundations that are the pulse, that are already granting out millions of dollars to thousands of nonprofits in the community. So we're helping you to get influence and impact immediately. This is how we are leveraging the resources and relationships for more revenue for you and for the nonprofit world. So these are all the benefits for this collaboration. And ultimately, our tagline, our motto, our vision, our mission is to help everyone make money making a difference. Make money while they're making a difference. Make money from making a difference. They should go hand in hand. So how can you become one of these credible rock stars? Is first and foremost, you have to be a champion. You have to want to take action and do something in your community and get paid to do it. So first, you got to be a champion. And second, you really need to qualify for this, because not only is the reputation of our friend at the Amelia Group on the line, not only is the reputation of the Real Agents of Change, but this is a big deal, putting us in front of thousands of nonprofits, giving us a way to bring billions, with a B, billions of dollars to the nonprofit world, save lives, save environments, save animals, save veterans, help our churches. And we can't do that with somebody who just got their real estate license or who isn't, really entrenched in the community and has a large center of influence. So you need to be a real estate agent full time, can't be part time. This has got to be your life. This has got to be your career. So when you are full time and you are willing to make introductions to not only willing, but excited to do it. And you need to be able to commit to these times. So first of all, you got to be a specialist and you got to be a champion. And then the Community Foundation, we've got a whole other packet of marketing and 13 weeks of live Zooms trainings. And it starts January 19th. And it's going through April because we've got List the Legacy Listing Month in April. And this is going to include marketing for List the Legacy Listing Month. So it's going to include that warm introduction between you and your local community foundation, the marketing for the List the Legacy Listing Month. We're going to send you actual signs, the donate real estate signs that you can put in your office. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's included. There is a video that you can get to watch from last Friday where I explain exactly how all of this works. And these are some of the expert guests that you will be able to meet and mingle and make a difference with and have these relationships with. Jim Wooten is going to be speaking on March 2nd. Dr. James has graciously, excitedly accepted the invitation. He'll be speaking on March 30th. Dan Klatt, the Church Guy Network, is going to teach us about churches and how that's a whole different niche all its own. Les Winston is going to teach us about pooled income funds so that these people that are donating can actually make an income before the money goes to the nonprofit world, Keith Eichley is the one that created Beyond Living I was talking about earlier. He's doing a module with us as well. And Jeff Albee, whom I just met through the Church Guy Network, is the president of the CCIM, the Commercial Board of Realtors in Los Angeles. And I just met a couple of weeks ago, he said, Cammie, I had a client, $45 million they donated to nonprofit, and I handled all those transactions for him. He jumped right in to become a champion because he sees the value of what we're doing. So that's what the whole presentation consists of. I'm going to stop sharing. And if anybody has a question about what I've just talked about, I am thrilled to answer it.
Cammie, I would just like to make a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I think I came to one of your very, very first master classes that you were doing. I don't know if it was, I don't think it was the first, but it was one of the first. And the information that you're now providing is so much more detailed and clear. And it just gets you more excited every time I come on board. So thank you.
Connie, it's always an honor to have people come back, because it really shows that we are providing value. And I just want to thank you for pointing that out. And by the way, friends, Connie please feel free to put over in the chat, Connie, any links to any of your classes, to your nonprofit, to how you are certifying real estate agents as well. Connie and I met in a thought leader group, and we were thick as thieves immediately. And I'd really love for you to put all your stuff over in the chat so people know who you are. Thank you for being here.
All right, thanks.
Well, it's 2:20. That's it, friends. That's all we got. So take action, do something. Feel free to introduce us. Doug, I see you've unmuted yourself. You got something?
Yeah, I just had a quick question for you, Cammie. Do you see a path with the program to help individuals that are in pre-foreclosure, that have they have equity in their properties, but have less than the 250K equity in a property, to help those folks out?
Well, so Doug is part of Keith Eichley's Next Gen Real Estate Investor Group and Beyond Living. And the correlation that we see, Doug, this is maybe a little more elevated conversation or more information than everyone here needs right now. I know your heads are spinning. But with Keith's program, there's only a certain number of people that will ever donate real estate. No matter how generous our society ever becomes, let's face it, it would always be less than 1% that would ever consider donating real estate. So with Keith's program, being able to help those people that you're talking about to avoid foreclosure, whether it's, rehabbing, whether it's helping them get into short-term rental to save them from going into foreclosure, whether they do something with the shared housing with Beyond Living, and you all would have to know a little bit more about it to really understand what I'm talking about. But that's how we could help them, because let's say a church in their congregation, imagine there's 200 people on a Sunday sitting in the congregation, and we say to them, hey, who here knows someone who's having a hard time with their mortgage? Some hands are going to go up. You may not see hands go up if we say, hey, who here would like to give your property to the church, right? But when those people put their hand up, yeah, I'm having a hard time with my mortgage, or my neighbor's having a hard time with their mortgage, there are programs in Keith's program that would help those people. And because they were referred through the church could start getting a $200 or $300 or $400 a month referral fee for bringing those people to Keith's program. In other words, for the Real Agents of Change, we are expanding to not just be donated real estate, but to help nonprofits get funded through real estate in different ways. So I don't think that person who is getting into foreclosure but has equity is necessarily going to be of the mindset to give the equity to nonprofit. But then again, I don't know, maybe they're behind on their mortgage for reasons that you and I can't understand. And when they find out that they can help their church with their $50,000 of equity, maybe they would. I'm just saying that wouldn't be my ideal avatar to donate real estate, but it would be an ideal avatar to introduce to one of the creative investment strategies that Keith has that could result in a monthly donation to the church.
Okay. Well, just to kind of give you a little background where I come from, and that's why I'm trying to figure out where it fits, how, just me personally fits, is that I've been an agent since like 2006. But I got into being an agent with an REO broker, and we moved when the market obviously crashed in 2008. We moved well over 1,000 properties back in those days, and over those years. And I was the field guy, and I was the one that had to go and see if there's people, still living in the properties on behalf of the banks. When we got the assignment, and my heart, when maybe about 10% of the properties were still, occupied. And when I was, talking to, those folks and listening how they got to that point, I've been trying to come up with a way to, if I can get to those people before they went into foreclosure, just to help those folks out. And, before the bank, totally foreclose on them. So I've got, I want to reach out to those folks. That's kind of where my passion is at, is to try to get there. And that's what I'm trying to put together for my own business, is how to bring, from obviously what Keith is doing, what you guys are doing with the, the ROC program here. And if I just, the pre-foreclosure lists are easy, and it's easy to get, at least start talking to those folks. Do you see that as a viable, person just to talk to? And they may not even thinking it might help their situation, but then we just bring them to maybe introducing charities that, that it can still move their any equity. If I call it the cash for keys, if these folks, that if they just get enough cash out to move wherever, because obviously if their credit is all shot, it's gone. They're not going to be able to get another house, but they got to still get another place to live. So we do the cash for keys program with them, so they've got enough to get, wherever they're going, and some moving expenses and taken care of. And then any remaining equity from that program could go to any charity that we so direct it to. I mean, does that sound viable?
Well, I would want to talk to you about it a little more, but my mind always goes to, there are a ton of nonprofits that are all about homes and saving people's homes and saving home equity and addressing the homeless issue. So it's certainly, this is a way that you could talk to all those nonprofits and maybe do some networking through them to find people. But also, if you were wanting, like, for example, RIA group, right? You go to RIA, everybody's got RIA everywhere, Real Estate Investor Associations. And if you go into that group, if you're just a regular realtor or bird dogger or wholesaler, you kind of get lost in the sea of everyone else. Right. But you could literally get up on the stage at a meetup.com or a RIA, or you could even go, real estate office to real estate office, and you could talk about charitable real estate, the tax benefits. For those people, you'd come at it more from the perspective of avoiding capital gains tax. And for you to be able to talk to them about this, which is heart-centered, which is visionary, helping people, avoiding taxes and all that, it makes you stand out and it makes you different than anyone else there, which ultimately is going to help you get more business and more referrals and make more friends anyway. So I always look at it as, what is the business development element for you? How could you leverage this? So are you still a real estate agent?
I'm still a licensed agent. Yeah. So
Are you team building?
No, I'm doing this part-time. I got my full-time inspection business. That's where I'm on. I'm always on the road. I'm in my car, obviously, right now. That's where I've got to do everything from my car, all the Zoom calls and things like that, as I'm going from inspection to inspection.
Well, I want to suggest, my friend Connie has already bounced off. She bounced off just before we started talking, but Michael Maldonado is her guy, her fiance, her boyfriend, who's still on here. And Connie actually is putting together a program for realtors about distressed properties.
Okay.
How to find them, how to help people to not go into foreclosure. And as I hear you talking about all this, I feel like she would be a good person for you to talk to about what she's doing.
I would love that. Yeah, absolutely. If there's a way to hook us up, I would definitely do that. Or if Alan can help me out, because Alan's on Keith's call all the time. If I think I got Alan's number at home. I think I wrote it down before. Can I just call Alan and get it from Alan?
You can, and I'll send a text introducing you to Connie.
Okay.
So that you have her number. Michael, if you want to let Connie know that I'll be sending her someone from here that would want to talk about her distressed properties.
Sure thing. Also, I have a couple quick questions. What state is the gentleman involved in? Where does he have his license?
I'm in the Chicago suburbs.
Okay. You have to make sure how the foreclosure process is written up, because some states are litigious and some states are non-court foreclosures.
We're a judicial state.
Okay.
Hey guys, I want you to communicate. I love that you're talking, but let's finish the charitable real estate aspect of the call, and let's get you guys in touch to talk about that later.
Actually, I think we can actually combine it both. Call me afterwards, and I have an idea about this for you. So call me
exchange phone numbers.
Sure.
Doug,
sure.
You want to give them your number?
Sure. My number is 626-827-0882. I have no social life. I answer the phone all the time.
Was it Mike? Was it Mike? It's 626-827-0882. Okay.
And I'm one of the few agents that is certified by the National Association of Realtors as a short sale and foreclosure resource.
Oh, wonderful. I will give you, sure. I'm just about ready to run into an inspection. I'll call you shortly thereafter. So probably within the hour.
And I'm looking forward to being part of the greater CAMI organization here.
Thank you, Michael. I apologize. I don't mean to cut you off, but
no
Val's
problem.
got her hand up. Val, what can I help you with, girl?
You know, one of the things while he was mentioning that was last year I saw a tax overage that was $453,000 right here in my Madera County. I see another one that's coming up for $124,000, and I didn't have the conversation. I didn't have the tools at that time as to where to direct them to. But I think those tax overages, what do you think about that? Because they've kind of already lost it. However, someone is to inherit that overage of $453,000. And I didn't make that call. I didn't have someone to go to, right? But I think this could be an awesome opportunity for that. If they're letting it go to taxes or they're unaware of it, what a beautiful opportunity this is. Do you think, or is it too late?
At the end of the day, let us not prejudge what anyone would or wouldn't do. The fact is, this is a beautiful conversation. So as opposed to an investor that might be calling somebody up like a shark smelling blood in the water, if you can come with this conversation, hey, listen, I see you've got this property. Just want you to know I'm a local representative that's helping nonprofits get funded through real estate. Just want to let you know there's other options and alternatives for you. This may not be something that is a donated property, but what a beautiful way to start that conversation and relationship. And who knows, maybe it's a listing. Maybe, you know, that property is one they just let fall off the radar, but maybe they got 800 more, you know. I mean, it's just a great way to have a foot in the door, an icebreaker that's different than anyone else. That's the way I look at it.
And with the tax overages, they've already lost the property to a tax lien sale, but it's an overage of money that's sitting there that they don't know they're even entitled to. If they don't go look for it, they're not going to be aware of it. You know, if the state doesn't go looking to go and see who they're supposed to return the funds to, and within, I think it's either a year or a year and a half here, the state gets to keep it.
Huh. Well, there's a whole side business for you right there, just being a money finder for people. Okay, friends, thank you so much for being here again. You know, we do this every 2 weeks on the first and the third Tuesday of the month. We do have the occasional fifth Tuesday, which throws everyone into a tailspin. But if you just look at your calendar, make sure it's the first or the third Tuesday, you can come back. It's the same link. And the more you hear it, the more you see it, the more you learn. Sam and Barbara have been here, oh gosh, 10, 12, 15 times by now. And I think they would tell you they learn something new every time or they wouldn't keep coming. So thanks for being here. Here is my cell phone number. I'm going to pop over in the chat. I think Alan did this earlier for me, but just as a side note, if anybody wants to talk to me on the side, please get involved with this community foundation thing. We have never had something this exciting and this bridge building and this just I don't even know what other word to use but exciting, because this gives us a way to get in front of thousands of nonprofits with huge warmly in front of them. So let me know if you have any questions about that, and gonna bounce off for now. Thank you very much. See you guys next time.